Chapter 1361. Oh! The group started searching after hearing Lin Yi's words, and finally, they found a set of bones on the right side of the wall. Under the light of the searchlight, it shone with a white light, looking very scary. The bones were scattered on the ground, not neatly placed together, so they couldn't tell the cause of death. It was as if the body had been dismembered and thrown together, and the body became like this. It's just a set of bones, what's the big deal? Maybe it was killed by a friend. Elder, you didn't have any fear towards dead people. He said faintly, didn't Old Hay kill quite a few people yesterday? There's a lot of space here, and there's no danger. Is that so? You're still interested in dismembering a body after killing a friend? Lin Yi was very disdainful of Elder Yu's ignorance. This person was a master, but he lacked common sense. Even if there was an internal conflict here, who would have the time to dismember a body? It wasn't some big grudge, was it? The path is smooth, and there's no hidden weapons on the ground. Aren't you thinking too much? Elder Yu asked. Oh, if that's the case, then you can walk in the front, I'll cover the back. Lin Yi shrugged. Elder Yu's face was a little ugly. He really didn't dare to walk in the woods. If there really was something up ahead, then even an earth class wouldn't be enough. He only urged Lin Yi to go first, so after some hesitation, he turned to Old Hay. What do you think? I think. Old Hay frowned, but he couldn't make up his mind. His eyes quickly landed on Xiaoke. Flying Sparrow, why don't you lead the way? Fuck, why was it me again? Xiaoke was depressed, but she could only obey. After all, she was hired by Old Hay, and she had to listen to him to get the final payment. So Xiaoke gritted her teeth and nodded, preparing to test the waters and walk forward. Wait! Lin Yi waved his hand to stop Xiaoke. There was danger ahead, Lin Yi was 100% sure. Ever since they came to this area, the Jade's warning signal had gotten stronger. How could Lin Yi let Xiaoke take the risk? Blackie frowned at Lin Yi's words. I can't even let my people leave first? Male thief, aren't you being too overbearing? Want her? There will be other uses for it later. Lin Yi pointed at Xiaoke and said, you follow me now, and I'll give you 10% of my profits. You don't have to listen to him anymore. Ah! Xiaoke froze. She didn't understand why Lin Yi would suddenly say that, but she knew that Lin Yi had always protected her. She wasn't an idiot. She knew who really cared about her and who was using her as a tool. Flying Sparrow, are you going to break the promise? Old Hay looked at Xiaoke and asked darkly. Old Hay was about to explode from anger. This Lin Yi was too despicable, wasn't he? He wanted to drag Xiaoke away with just a few words? How could he do that? She was the cannon fodder he'd hired. I'll just follow the male thief. Xiaoke wasn't an idiot. She didn't want to die. Old Hay was obviously telling her to step on a landmine. If she wasn't so stupid, this would be a good choice. Flying Sparrow, think about it. What does the male thief need you for? Think about his tone. He's probably drooling over your beauty, right? Old Hay was trying to drive a wedge between them. He wanted the female thief to hear him and get her to interfere. That way, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do anything. Xiaoke looked at Lin. She felt a sense of familiarity from him. He didn't seem to have any ulterior motives, but Old Hay's words made her suspicious. Yeah, what did he need her for? And he was even willing to give her 10% of the profit? Xiaoke felt that something wasn't right. Wasn't this male thief a bit too nice to her? Old Hay, do you want to die? Lin Yi looked at him and said faintly, shut up if you don't want to die. If you want to leave, you can leave first. Old Hay suddenly remembered how Lin Yi was strong enough to fight against Elder Yu. He lost his temper. Yeah, why would he fight with Lin Yi? Wasn't arguing with Lin Yi asking for death? Then what do you want to do? Are we just going to wait here and not move? Elder Yu had no choice but to turn to Lin. Let's go see how that person died. Lin Yi pointed at the bones. The body had already turned into white bones, but there were still some clues. Lin Yi's suggestion was agreed. It was good to take a look. They walked over together, careful, and stopped 10 meters away from the bones. Elder Yu, however, wasn't prepared. He only took 2 more steps before retreating back. Lin Yi looked at the coward mockingly. He took out a hardtack from his pocket and tossed it over. The hardtack moved along the ground until it reached the pile of bones. It touched one of the bones and stopped. In actuality, the danger signal from the jade didn't change, so there shouldn't be any danger yet. If the signal got stronger, it would be a sign of danger. Lin Yi walked over first and picked up the hardtack. He patted the dust off and started eating, studying the bones as he ate. Lin Yi was a medical student, and he'd climbed out of a pile of corpses. He didn't have anything to hide, but Old Hay, James, and Elder Yu felt disgusted. This hardtack touched the bones of the dead. Was it still edible? Lin ate one and gave the other to Xiaoke. He could tell that the food she brought was limited. Old Hay would give her some sometimes, but she'd been frugal. She'd gotten skinnier in just a few days. Xiaoke, on the other hand, didn't care. From her perspective, this was food. How could she waste it? As long as it didn't fall into a manure pit, it was edible. Old Hay looked at Lin Yi and Xiaoke's actions. His eyes narrowed, but he didn't say anything. He saw it, and the female thief saw it too. She didn't say anything, so there was no point in trying to sow discord. But Old Hay was curious. Why did Xiaoke trust Lin? Wasn't she afraid that he'd hurt her? Chapter 1362. Chewed. Old Hay was so disgusted he wanted to puke. Didn't Lin Yi mean that someone ate him to death? He was eaten by his partner? James felt disgusted as well. Could it be that the people who came were cannibals? Internal strife, killing people was one thing, but why did they eat people? I don't know, Lin Yi shook his head. Maybe they're humans, maybe they're not. Either way, be careful. Even if he was eaten, what's there to be surprised about? Elder Yu saw that there were no other dangers, so he spoke up. Maybe they ran out of food in the tomb, and because of that, they fought amongst themselves, and one of them died, and because of the lack of food, his body was eaten by his comrades. Lin Yi didn't explain anything, but he felt that this Elder Yu's imagination was really wild. Other than training, did he live in a fairy tale world? Everyone walked forward, and the jade's warning signal didn't disappear, but it didn't get stronger either. This meant that the danger was ahead, but it hadn't appeared yet. Elder Yu was a bit disdainful as he looked at Lin Yi's serious demeanor. They'd been walking for so long without any danger, and Old Hay and James relaxed as well. But, after another kilometer, Lin Yi stopped again. What now? Elder Yu asked after seeing Lin Yi stop. Another one. Lin Yi said. What another one? Elder Yu paused. Over there. There's another pile of bones. Xiaoke's eyes were sharp, and she saw a pile of human bones not far away. Another one eaten? Elder Yu said solemnly after a sigh. Yeah, another one eaten. Lin Yi didn't deny it, but his meaning was completely different from Elder Yu. What Lin Yi was referring to wasn't being eaten by their companions. Lin Yi didn't care about the others and walked over. He simply looked at the bones on the ground and found that they were similar to the ones he found before. They were all gnawed by something, but Lin Yi didn't think it was a human. No one would come here to rob a tomb without sufficient food. Even if they didn't have enough, they could go back and get it. This place wasn't difficult to walk, and there wasn't any danger along the way. Why would they eat people? Most importantly, the teeth marks on the bones didn't seem to be left by a human. This time, Lin didn't stop for too long. He continued to walk forward. Not long after, another pile of bones appeared on the ground. It was similar to the previous one, and there were traces of gnawing on it. These people sure can eat. They ate 3 in such a short time. Elder Yu laughed after seeing it. Lin Yi was speechless. This person's IQ was truly shocking. Even if they were eaten by their companions, who could eat 3 people in one day. That was more than 100 kilograms. How much meat could you eat in a day? He continued walking forward, and not long after, another pile of bones appeared on the ground. The distance between the 2 piles was much closer, only a few hundred meters apart. Another one? Even Elder Yu was suspicious. Just how many people had been eaten this time? Even if it was an internal conflict, there shouldn't be this many dead, right? Lin Yi had a bad premonition in his heart. There seemed to be something alive in this tomb, especially after seeing so many white bones. Lin Yi's premonition grew even stronger. He moved forward once more. This time, he didn't go far before the warning signal from the jade pendant suddenly became stronger. Lin Yi quickly stopped. What now? White bones again? Elder Yu asked subconsciously. There seems to be danger, Lin Yi said. Danger? Elder Yu paused, and so did Old Hay and James. Lingshan and Yutian listened to Lin Yi completely, so they moved closer to Lin Yi as soon as Lin Yi said that. Only by staying together would they be safe. How come I don't feel it? Old Hay was confused. The place Lin Yi was at was empty, and there was nothing there. It was just a part of the passageway, and logically speaking, there shouldn't be any danger here. In ancient times, there were no precise electronic measuring devices and calculating devices. After walking for such a long distance, it was impossible to set up any traps in a passageway that had no rulers or markings. Otherwise, even their own people might accidentally fall into a trap. Of course, those tombs that wanted to be sealed forever were an exception, but Old Hay and James hadn't seen that before. Let's wait here for a bit. With that, Lin Yi prepared to sit down on the ground and stop moving forward. There weren't any forks in the road, and he stopped without seeing any danger. Naturally, Elder Yu wasn't satisfied. He'd been delayed for so many days already, and he hadn't even entered the underground palace yet. It pissed him off that he was stuck on the road. His time wasn't limitless, and the Noble House Association was watching him. If he was out for too long and they didn't notice him, he'd be in big trouble. What's there to wait for? There's no village ahead or shop behind. What do you want? Elder Yu was suspicious of Lin Yi's intentions. Lin Yi looked at him, too lazy to explain. What do you guys think? I think we should keep going. Elder Yu had heard Lin Yi say that it was dangerous, but they didn't see any danger at all, so he didn't really believe Lin Yi's words. He thought that he was just trying to scare them, or maybe he was trying to make them rely on him. All right, let's keep going then. Old Hay and James looked at each other. They could see the greed in each other's eyes. Greed was boundless, especially after Lin Yi asked for 50% of the loot. The two of them wanted to exclude Lin Yi from the equation, and now was the perfect opportunity. Lin Yi had been so suspicious before, saying that there was danger here and there, but there hadn't been any danger along the way. Other than a few skeletons, there wasn't anything out of the ordinary, so they relaxed a little. Good luck, you guys. Lin Yi smiled, not saying much. Xiaoke decided to stay. She felt that Lin Yi couldn't harm her, but she didn't know what Old Hay would do. Xiaoke was starting to regret accepting this mission. This Old Hay was cruel and didn't treat her as an equal at all. He was using her as cannon fodder. Elder Yu brought Old Hay and James away before Lingshan asked, "Male thief, is there really danger ahead?" Because of Xiaoke's presence, she called Lin Yi a male thief. Chapter 1363. It has something to do with the bones? Lingshan asked. That's right. Lin Yi nodded. I feel like there's something alive in this tomb, and those people might have been eaten by that thing. Tomb keeper? Xiaoke couldn't help but gasp after hearing Lin Yi's words. What's a tomb keeper? Lin Yi wasn't a thief, so naturally he'd never heard of it. Tomb watchers are the protectors of the graveyard. These people used to be the servants of the master of the grave, and as they developed, they could be the descendants of the servants, or the servants of the servants. But now there are very few of them, Xiaoke said. Yes. You're saying that there's a tomb keeper in this tomb? That it ate these people? Lin Yi asked. It could be a human, but it could also be a spirit beast. Tomb-guarding spirit beasts are recorded in some ancient tomb robberies. This is a type of spirit beast that exists to guard tombs, living in the tomb and protecting it. When there's no one around, it hibernates like a turtle, but once someone barges in, it will wake up and eat the robbers as food before going back into hibernation. Xiaoke explained, if these people weren't eaten by their companions, then it's very likely that they were eaten by the tomb-guarding spirit beast. Lin Yi nodded. If these people weren't eaten by their companions, then it's very likely that they were eaten by the tomb-guarding spirit beast. Xiaoke explained, if these people weren't eaten by their companions, then it's very likely that it was the tomb-guarding spirit beast. There's something like that? Lin Yi was surprised. Then Old Hay and the others don't know about it? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, because it's just a legend. I've read about it in some ancient tomb, Maybe it's just something people made up to scare people, but in all these years, I've never heard of anyone meeting a tomb keeper. There have been tomb keepers, but they don't live in the tomb, they only live near the tomb. Xiaoke said, and these tomb keepers have gone through tens or even hundreds of generations, and many of them don't even know where the tombs, they only know about the legend of their ancestors. I see. Lin Yi nodded. He guessed that the spirit beast guarding the tomb was similar to the fire spirit's fruit that his old man had seen. It was an extremely rare existence, and very few people believed in it anymore. Then these people will probably meet the legendary spirit beast guarding the tomb. How wonderful. Then these people, will they be eaten as well? Ling Shan frowned. Who knows? Lin Yi shrugged. Ling Shan didn't say anything. Things had gone beyond her expectations. She didn't want these grave robbers to die, and wanted to bring them to justice, but this wasn't the time for her to do whatever she wanted. Even Lin Yi couldn't do anything about it. If Lin Yi was confident, he wouldn't be sitting here waiting. And so, Ling Shan and Yutian looked at each other and went silent. Whatever, as long as they could capture those small fries up there, it'd be worth it. Right? Male thief, can I ask you something? Xiaoke couldn't help but ask. She hadn't talked much with the male thief before, and they weren't familiar with each other, so she didn't dare to talk too much. But now that they had talked a lot, she wasn't as nervous as before. What is it? Linus. Why are you helping me? Xiaoke asked after some hesitation. Oh. Lin Yi didn't know if he should reveal his identity. After some thought, he decided not to cause any more trouble. He smiled. I see that you're pretty, and I want to take you as my wife. Is that okay? Well, Xiaoke's eyes went wide, and her face turned red from Lin Yi's words. She coughed and stuttered, No? No way, right? Lin Yi smiled at Xiaoke's shocked face, so don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Oh. Xiaoke nodded, but she was still a little embarrassed. Ling Shan was so pissed off that she almost jumped up and pointed at Lin. Just what was wrong with me? Why would you rather take a female thief as your wife and not think about me? She was pissed. Ah. Lin Yi thought that Xiaoke was quite amusing. How much are you worth? Xiaoke suddenly asked after some silence. HM? Lin Yi paused. It's nothing, it just depends on how much you're worth, and if you're worth being my wife. How much can you give me? Xiaoke said seriously. I'm joking. Lin Yi looked at the serious look on Xiaoke's face and felt bad. Lin Yi could guess what Xiaoke was thinking. Perhaps she thought that the couple should be very rich. How could a grave robber not have money? Perhaps she could tell that it was too dangerous to help other people rob graves, especially this time. She might die if she didn't do it properly, so she thought of selling herself. If she could sell herself for a good price, then the orphanage wouldn't have to worry about the future, and Xiaoke might really agree. In her eyes, she didn't care about her own benefits and happiness at all, only the children in the orphanage. Haha, I'm just joking too. Xiaoke laughed. In fact, Lin Yi was right. Xiaoke really did think the same way as Lin Yi. If Lin Yi could take out a sum of money that could build the orphanage well, and make it so that the orphanage wouldn't have to worry about its expenses for a long time, then Xiaoke would be willing to be his wife or even his maid. But Xiaoke shook her head in self-mockery. She wasn't a golden phoenix. Why would he spend so much money? Was that even possible? She reckoned that these thoughts of hers would cause the male thief to go bankrupt. Even if he really wanted to marry her as a concubine, he would be scared away after hearing her request. The four of them waited here for a while. After about half an hour, they suddenly heard the sound of messy footsteps coming from the passageway in front of them. They're back? Ling Shan asked after hearing the footsteps. They seem to be running back? Yutian frowned, confused. Not good. Lin Yi's heart sank. The Jade's warning signal was getting stronger and stronger, which meant that Elder Yu and Old Hei had brought danger back as well. As expected, following the messy footsteps were screams of pain. Help. Not good. There's a ghost. There's a ghost in the grave. It's going to eat people. Chapter 1364. Slowly, Lin Yi could see a person running back from the passageway. It was Elder Yu, an Earth class, running faster than a rabbit. Looking at him, he didn't seem to be injured at all. This meant that he didn't fight with the so-called ghost. This made Lin Yi look down on him. This guy was a bit too cowardly, wasn't he? In fact, Elder Yu really was a cowardly person. Otherwise, he wouldn't be threatened by a mystic like Lin Yi time and again. He was arrogant, but he cherished his life like gold. He was a contradiction, but it could also be understood as bullying the weak and fearing the strong. In front of a weaker opponent, Elder Yu was arrogant and prideful. He took pride in bullying the weak. But once the opponent was strong enough to threaten his life, he became hesitant and didn't dare to fight head-on. However, it wasn't hard for people who knew Elder Yu's background to understand. As the head of the Common World House Yu, he was once the head of the Common World House Yu. Other than pursuing a higher level of martial arts, he wanted to bring glory to the Common World House Yu, so he entered the Hidden House Yu. If he hadn't entered a hidden house, Elder Yu wouldn't have known how small he was. But when he saw that there were so many Earth-class masters in the hidden house, and even a legendary Sky-class master, Elder Yu knew that he was nothing more than an ant. Being able to enter the hidden house wasn't something to be proud of. Here, people could kill him at any time. So he started to tremble and be careful, afraid that he would lose his life. He felt how small his life was, and he became more cautious. Earth-class, in the common world, was the top, but after entering the hidden house, his position was lower than those mystic-class servants, because he was an outsider. Maybe if something happened to him and he died, the hidden house wouldn't even bat an eye. In order to confirm his position in the hidden house, Elder Yu had to accept some of the missions from House Yu in the common world, even if it was dangerous. But Elder Yu wasn't an idiot. Once his life was threatened, he would definitely choose to save his own life first. As for the mission, to hell with it. Once he died, there would be no hope for House Yu, let alone revenge for his third brother and nephew. But this time he really felt danger. It was a monster, and although it seemed to be only Golden Class late phase peak, Elder Yu didn't dare to act recklessly. They weren't humans, so they couldn't be measured by human strength. If he was facing a human late phase peak Golden Class master, Elder Yu would probably just mock him and kill him, but facing a Golden Class late phase peak ghost, Elder Yu didn't even have the thought of fighting him. This thing wasn't human. Who knew how they divided their strength? Would he be eaten by him? No way. Is there really a ghost? Xiaoke was startled as well. They were just talking about a Tomb Guardian beast, and now it was here. She was a girl, and of course she was scared. Some things could be said, but seeing it with her own eyes would make her heart skip a beat. It's not a ghost. It's a weird-looking animal. It's probably the Tomb Guardian beast you were talking about. Lin Yi closed his eyes, using the jade space to observe the scene in the far. This was Lin Yi's golden finger. Otherwise, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to see what was coming. He's very fast, at least not slower than old He. Then what do we do now? Ling Shan subconsciously pulled out her handgun. This was the first time she wanted to use it since coming here. I don't know, but he's about to catch up to James, Ling said. Suddenly, a scream came from the passageway. It was James' voice. It seemed like James had been captured by the monster. It's James. Xiaoke recognized the voice as well. Yeah, James is done for. The monster's already bitten his neck off. Lin Yi sighed. As expected, White Bones was eaten by it. The monster stopped chasing Old He and Elder Yu and started eating James, while Elder Yu and Old He ran over in one go. Run, there's a ghost. Blackie gasped for breath. Elder Yu, you're an Earth class, aren't you going to deal with that monster? It's just a Golden Class late phase peak monster, Lin Yi said mockingly. So you know that it's a monster. I'm a human. How can I compare to a monster? Who knows if it's strong or not? Some monsters without a level can kill an Earth class in one hit. Elder Yu humphed coldly. Ignorant brat, there are too many things you don't know. In those ancient sects, there are some ancient spirit beasts that aren't high-leveled, but they have very powerful abilities. Some look like they're only Golden Class, but they have very high attack skills. Lin Yi paused, not expecting ancient spirit beasts to exist. Wasn't this similar to the spirit beast that Xiaoke talked about? They were probably the same type, just guarding different things. After hearing the words, Lin Yi understood why Elder Yu didn't want to do anything. Some people really couldn't be measured by level. Like Gooden, for example. He looked like an unclassed, but he could kill a mystic in one hit. It didn't make sense at all. So you're saying that we're giving up on this tomb? Lin Yi's eyes narrowed as he looked at Elder Yu. While the monster is eating James, we'll discuss our strategy. Should we work together to kill the monster, or should we leave the tomb? Elder Yu wasn't in too much of a rush. He wasn't confident that he could fight the monster head-on, but he could still run. His speed was clearly faster than the monster. I remember someone said that if there's any danger in the tomb, he'll take care of it. Isn't that you, Elder Yu? Lin Yi looked at Elder Yu and said faintly, "Kid, you only know how to talk big. If you think you can do it, then go take care of him." Elder Yu humphed. Chapter 1365. But Lin Yi was confident that as long as he killed this monster and entered the underground palace, Elder Yu wouldn't be able to catch him even if he came back. The tomb was full of traps, and it wasn't something Elder Yu could catch up to. You want to throw me off? It's not that easy. Either we work together to kill this monster, or I'll watch you do it. Elder Yu wasn't an idiot. He knew what Lin Yi was thinking. What if he couldn't find Lin Yi when he came back? How do you want to work together? Linist. You lure the monster to eat you, and I'll ambush you from the back. Elder Yu said straightforwardly. Lin Yi blushed a little on his behalf. Elder Yu, could you be more shameless? Letting him be the cannon fodder while he ambushed him? What do you think? My idea isn't bad, right? Elder Yu's face was thick to a certain extent, and he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with what he said. Even old Hay felt that this Elder Yu was going overboard, but Lin Yi nodded. All right, I'll lure it from the front, and you ambush it. Lin Yi knew that it wasn't practical to let Elder Yu lure the monster. With Elder Yu's personality, he wouldn't do something so dangerous. As for ambushing, it was much less dangerous. Elder Yu was confident that he could escape from the monster, and so was Lin Yi, so he wasn't afraid of the monster. With that, Lin Yi walked towards the monster, and Elder Yu followed carefully behind Lin Yi, as if he would run away at any moment. Ling Shan and Yu Tian looked at each other, but they didn't move. Lin Yi didn't let them do anything, and the best plan was for them to stay where they were. Otherwise, they'd just be more of a hindrance to Lin. Lin Yi and Elder Yu, one in front and one at the back, came to the monster's side. At this moment, the monster was focused on eating James' body, its mouth full of blood. It was a scary sight. This was also the first time Lin Yi observed the monster up close. The monster had a yellow mane and looked a bit like a gorilla, but there were some differences. Although it had hairy limbs, used its hind legs to walk, and used its forelegs to eat, it didn't have a tail. From its appearance, it was completely different from a gorilla or monkey. It looked a bit like a toad, with protruding eyes, no nose, and a pointed mouth. It was hard to tell what such a monster was. The monster clearly saw Lin Yi approaching. Perhaps it was curious. Others would run away when they saw it, so why would Lin Yi take the initiative to approach it? However, now that there was human meat to eat, the monster was not in a hurry to attack Lin Yi. When Lin Yi passed by the monster only glanced at him once, but when Lin Yi passed it and continued forward, the monster suddenly threw James away and pounced at Lin Yi with its claws and fangs. This indirectly proved Lin Yi's guess. This really was a spirit beast guarding the tomb. When Lin Yi didn't intend to continue into the tomb, it ignored Lin Yi, but when Lin Yi continued forward, he was attacked by the monster. It even ignored the food in its hands and chased after Lin Yi. Lin Yi's Qinggong wasn't any weaker than Elder Yu. How could this monster catch up to him? Although Lin Yi was sure that this monster was at the peak of the late phase of the golden class, he had a strange feeling, as if he wasn't its opponent. This feeling became stronger when the monster swung its paw at him. Lin Yi didn't have the confidence to take it head-on. If it weren't for the fact that he still had to rely on Lin Yi to enter the tomb, Elder Yu wouldn't mind stalling for time and let the monster finish off Lin Yi first. That way, Lin Yi wouldn't have the strength to fight with him for the qi-gathering pills and medical notes. But Elder Yu knew that it would be hard for old He and Xiaoke to enter the tomb, and so he had to protect Lin Yi's life. Roar! The more Lin Yi walked in, the angrier the monster got. It was as if Lin Yi had stolen its belongings, and it chased after Lin. The monster left its back to Elder Yu, as if it didn't have any defense against him at all. This made Elder Yu laugh. Monsters really were monsters. Their intelligence was too low. Leaving its back to the enemy, wasn't it looking to die? And so, Elder Yu channeled his chi and clenched his fists, aiming at the monster's back. He was ready to kill this monster in one hit. Elder Yu didn't want to waste time with a monster like this, so he used all of his strength right from the get-go. He was afraid that if he couldn't kill it in one hit, it'd be troublesome if he ambushed it again. Pang! A loud sound, and both of Elder Yu's fists landed on the monster's back. It could be said that the full strength of an early phase Earth class was used up in this one hit. As far as he was concerned, this monster was dead for sure. Golden class late phase peak. After taking a hit from an early phase Earth class, there was no reason for it not to die. Not to mention golden class late phase peak. Even a mystic late phase peak would be dead for sure if they took a hit like that, let alone with both fists. But before Elder Yu could be proud of himself, the monster turned around and slapped at Elder Yu. Elder Yu didn't have any defense, and was hit squarely on the chest, sending him flying. Roar! The monster didn't think that someone would dare to ambush him, and he was furious. His eyes turned red, and he didn't care about Lin anymore as he ran towards Elder Yu. Pfft. Elder Yu spat out a mouthful of blood from the monster's slap. His body was in pain, and at the same time he was shocked. Why wasn't the monster dead? How did it have such strength? But he didn't have time to think too much, because the monster was chasing after him again. And so, Elder Yu stood up and ran, afraid that the monster would catch up to him. Lin Yi frowned. As expected, the feeling of danger that this monster gave him was correct. It wasn't a normal golden class late phase peak, and a spirit beast like this couldn't be judged by the standards of a human's level. Although Elder Yu didn't kill the monster, the full strength of an early phase Earth class was no joke. It probably did some damage to the monster, or else it wouldn't be this angry. Chapter 1366. Lin Yi and Elder Yu were both shocked. It seemed that they had underestimated the monster's strength. The palm it used on Elder Yu was obviously because it didn't use its full strength, and this palm was filled with rage. Lin Yi could go into the palace while the monster wasn't there, but Lin Yi couldn't do that. Lingshan, Yutian, and Xiaoke were all outside, and Lin Yi couldn't just ignore them. What if Elder Yu shifted the blame to them? Elder Yu was filled with regret and hatred. He was glad that he came up with the right idea, thinking that the monster's eyes were on Lin Yi, and it was just a sneak attack, so there shouldn't be any danger. Who knew that not only did the sneak attack fail, but he also got himself into trouble. Male thief, come help! Elder Yu yelled as he ran. It seemed like the monster wouldn't stop until it caught up to him. Lin Yi could only chase after him. Elder Yu was an Earth class, but his Qinggong might not be stronger than Lin Yi's. Lin Yi didn't take long to overtake the monster and Elder Yu, continuing onwards. Elder Yu was raging, but there was nothing he could do. Seeing Lingshan, Yutian, and the others, Lin Yi yelled, "Run! The monster's gone crazy!" Lin Yi grabbed Xiaoke under his armpit when he passed her, running with her. Xiaoke was the weakest here, and Lin Yi wasn't sure if she could run, so it was better to bring her along. Lingshan and Yutian looked at Old He, and Yutian was helpless. He had no choice but to carry Old He on his back. Their mission this time was to catch the tomb robbers, and now that Old Kang, James, and Old Hao were all dead, only Old He was left. He couldn't let him die too, right? So Qin Yutian could only bring him along. Old He was touched. Good people, really good people. He wanted to get rid of them before, but at this critical moment, they still thought of him. This thief couple was really a good person. Elder Yu saw General Wei Wu, but he wasn't kind enough to bring the dog along. He cursed, "Dog, don't block the way." General Wei Wu's eyes froze, but he didn't bother with Elder Yu. He just stood in the middle of the tunnel with his head held high, facing the monster that was running towards him. Lin Yi didn't bother with General Wei Wu because General Wei Wu's running speed wasn't slow and it could run on its own. He didn't expect it to face the enemy head-on. Roar! The monster roared at General Wei Wu. Woof, woof! General Wei Wu barked as well. Pure energy spread out from its body, showing the strength of an early phase mystic class. Under normal circumstances, no one would think that General Wei Wu was a training dog if they didn't purposely pay attention to it. Even when it slipped under Elder Yu's eyes, Elder Yu didn't suspect that it was a training dog. It was only when General Wei Wu showed off its power that Elder Yu suddenly realized that it was a mystic class dog. Could it be that there was a spirit beast beside the male thief? Elder Yu wanted to cry. You have a mystic class dog. Why didn't you come earlier? Why didn't you say so earlier? You even made me spit out blood after getting slapped by that monster. How can you trick people like this? Doggy, go subdue that monster. Elder Yu was energized and ordered Weiwu. Although General Weiwu could understand human language, it didn't care about Elder Yu's order. For some reason, General Weiwu had a desire to conquer the monster the moment it saw it. It was a natural instinct. And so, General Weiwu chose to face the monster head-on. But Elder Yu stopped running and breathed a sigh of relief as he stood beside Weiwu. As if he had discovered a new continent, he pointed at the monster and started cursing. Weren't you trying to act cocky in front of me? Why aren't you acting cool now? Are you a coward now? Lin Yi, who was running at the front, sensed something amiss and stopped. Ling Shan and Yu Tian stopped as well, turning around at the same time. What they saw shocked them to the core. Male thief, why didn't you say so earlier that you have a spirit beast beside you? Did you deliberately injure this old man? Elder Yu couldn't be blamed for thinking this way. From his perspective, this male thief just wanted to get rid of him so that he wouldn't have to fight for the treasures in the tomb. Spirit beast? You're saying that General Weiwu is a spirit beast? Linny paused. He didn't know what Elder Yu was talking about. You have a mystic early phase spirit beast, but you don't want it to fight that monster. Instead, you want me to sneak attack it? What are you planning? Are you trying to kill me? Elder Yu said with a dark face. If this dog wasn't Lin Yi's, he would have slapped it and let Lin Yi have a taste of getting hurt. You're an Earth class and you can't even deal with that monster. You want a mystic dog to do it? Lin Yi asked in confusion. Although he was confused, he realized that with General Weiwu's presence, the monster really stopped and didn't take another step forward. You don't know. Elder Yu paused and humphed. No wonder, a tomb raider like you wouldn't know these secrets. You have a high-level spirit beast beside you and you don't even know. What a waste. What do you mean? Lin Yi really didn't understand what Elder Yu was talking about. Besides, this wasn't a spirit beast. It was just a normal dog that he modified. Although there are many different kinds of spirit beasts, and they all have different abilities such as attack type, healing type, fire type, water type, etc., but the classification of spirit beasts is strictly based on their own level. In other words, to them, Mystic will always be higher than Golden class. Even if Golden class is an attack type and Mystic is a healing type, the only thing a Golden class spirit beast can do in front of a Mystic class spirit beast is to submit. This is the biggest difference between spirit beasts and humans. Some people are worse than animals. Elder Yu's last sentence seemed to be hinting at something, hinting that Lin Yi was worse than an animal. A mystic wanted to fight Elder Yu, an Earth class. Although Lin Yi understood it, he didn't argue with Elder Yu. Lin Yi was shocked by Elder Yu's knowledge. Before, Lin Yi had never seen a spirit beast before, and he didn't know much about them. He didn't know that there were so many things. Chapter 1367. I don't know if I can tame it, but I'm sure it'll surrender. In other words, if that dog protects us, then this monster won't attack us. Elder Yu said. He was able to explain to Lin Yi some secrets that only people of the hidden house level would know. This made Elder Yu feel a sense of accomplishment. Thank you for the pointers, Elder Yu. Lin Yi said faintly. No matter what, this Elder Yu was annoying, but he did explain a lot of things to him. If you know what's good for you and give me a chi gathering pill and the medical notes, then I won't kill you. Lin Yi thought. This is just something that everyone in the hidden house knows. Elder Yu said proudly. He had to maintain this sense of superiority that came from a hidden house. Roar dash, the monster roared again. General Weiwu moved. It walked towards the monster, barking twice as it walked, as if it was sending some kind of message to the monster. The monster heard General Weiwu's barking and suddenly quieted down. The rage in its eyes disappeared and was replaced with a look of respect. However, because it was injured by Elder Yu, there was a flash of pain in its eyes. Although it was a spirit beast with thick skin and flesh, Elder Yu was an Earth class. That one hit was enough to make him suffer. It was obvious that it was injured internally, otherwise it wouldn't be so angry that it wanted to kill Elder Yu. Woof woof, roar, woof, Roar, roar. The two animals seemed to be communicating, but Linny didn't know what they were talking about. General Weiwu could understand him, but he couldn't understand General Weiwu, and he couldn't understand what the monster was talking about. Suddenly, General Weiwu reached out its front paw and placed it on the monster's body. Instantly, the monster's face showed a look of shock, but it quickly turned into an expression of enjoyment and comfort. Healing Spirit Beast. Elder Yu saw what Weiwu was doing, and he knew that it was healing the monster. Of course, the wounds it was healing were caused by him. Elder Yu couldn't help but show a greedy look in his eyes. Healing spirit beasts were the best of the best. They could heal humans or other spirit beasts. Of course, the degree of healing was also related to the level of the spirit beast. The higher the level, the more serious the wound. A high-level healing spirit beast could heal a person who was about to die. It was just that amazing. Although General Weiwu was only a mystic, it would become a sky-class spirit beast in the future, and it wouldn't be hard for it to have this kind of power. Spirit beasts evolved faster than humans, and Elder Yu was thinking that if he could bring this dog back to House Yu, what kind of reward would he get? He was starting to regret talking so much to Linny. It would have been easy if he could have used some benefits to trade for Lin Yi's dog, but taking him from Lin Yi's hands was a little more difficult. Healing spirit beast? Lin Yi's face flashed with a strange look. Healing my ass. General Weiwu's body was filled with his universal qi. It was useful to everyone. How did it become a healing spirit beast? General Weiwu knew how to attack too, okay? But Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to explain these things to Elder Yu. It seemed like General Weiwu had some kind of agreement with the monster, or else General Weiwu wouldn't be healing the monster on its own accord. Not long after, the monster moaned in comfort. Roar. It was as if its body was filled with energy and life, and all its wounds were healed. This made Elder Yu's breathing quicken. This was a full power strike from an Earth-class master. How could it be healed so easily? Although his strike might not have caused much damage to the monster, General Weiwu was able to heal it in such a short period of time. This was enough to show how miraculous General Weiwu was. Elder Yu looked at General Weiwu quietly. He was thinking about how he could bring it back to the hidden House Yu. Even if he couldn't find the Qi-gathering pill, medical notes, and pill-making notes, this healing spirit beast would be enough. General Weiwu could understand what Lin Yi was saying, and it also knew why Lin Yi came to the tomb. The ultimate goal of the guardian spirit beast was to protect the tomb, and also the sarcophagus of the dead. As long as General Weiwu said that he wouldn't touch the sarcophagus, the guardian spirit beast wouldn't stop him. Plus, General Weiwu healed the monster's wounds, and the guardian spirit beast was very grateful. General Weiwu barked at Lin Yi and the others after dealing with the guardian spirit beast. Lin Yi nodded, guessing what General Weiwu meant. He walked forward, and Lingshan, Yutian, and Xiaoke followed behind Lin. But Elder Yu and Old He were scared out of their wits, and they didn't dare to go forward. When they saw Lin Yi walk past the guardian spirit beast, they breathed a sigh of relief and quickly followed. But Lin Yi was fine, and that didn't mean that Elder Yu was fine. When Elder Yu walked past the guardian spirit beast, it suddenly jumped up and roared at Elder Yu. Elder Yu jumped back in fright, but he crashed into the stone wall behind him, making him dizzy and disorientated. This spirit beast was already so strong after being injured by him, and now that it was healed, wouldn't it be even stronger? But after scaring Elder Yu, it didn't move anymore. It just laid there, not intending to attack Elder Yu anymore. Evidently, he wanted to scare Elder Yu and get his revenge. With General Weiwu mediating between them, the spirit beast wouldn't hurt Elder Yu anymore, but he didn't want to let him go just like that. That was why he did this. Elder Yu realized that he was scared, and his face reddened. He laughed at himself. This spirit beast is quite smart, playing a joke on me. Of course, his joke wasn't funny at all. Lin Yi and the others couldn't be bothered with him after he said that. When Old Black passed by, the spirit beast tomb guardian didn't even look at him. It was clear that it didn't care about Old Black at all. However, this feeling of being looked down upon by the spirit beast tomb guardian made Old Black feel very good. Chapter 1368. But General Weiwu's identity was evidently acknowledged by the other spirit beasts. Did this mean that spirit beasts were just animals that could practice? Lin Yi believed that Elder Yu didn't know much about these things either. He only knew a little bit, so he took it out to show off. The ancient sects, on the other hand, should know more about spirit beasts, but Lin Yi didn't have access to them at his level. The path to the underground palace was full of twists and turns, but there was no danger. The group walked smoothly, and they reached the end in about a day. At the end of the passageway was a square palace. The entire hall of the palace was very large, about the size of a football field. In the palace, there were only some pillars that seemed to be supporting the weight of the palace. Apart from that, there were no other decorations. On the walls of the palace, there were countless eternal lanterns, and when they got here, everyone felt as if they had gone from darkness to light. The searchlight in Old Hei's hands was useless as well. The eternal lanterns weren't that bright, but they were no different from normal indoor lights. Seeing this, Lin Yi couldn't help but marvel at the craftsman's craftsmanship. These eternal lanterns were hundreds and thousands of years old, and yet they weren't extinguished. It was amazing. But Old Hei and Xiaoke seemed to be used to it, so Lin Yi, Lingshan, and Yutian didn't show too much surprise. This is the underground palace? How come there's nothing here? And why are these lanterns still on? Elder Yu was an outsider, and he didn't know what was going on. Elder Yu, this isn't the underground palace, it's just the entrance to the palace. Old Hei quickly explained. Next, we need to find the real entrance to the underground palace. As for those eternal lanterns, they're common in super tombs, and they're said to be made from the fat of mermaids. So that's the case, then what are we waiting for? You guys look for the entrance, I'll go get one for research. Elder Yu said. Old Hei quickly stopped him. Elder Yu, this lamp can't be extinguished or removed, it might trigger some traps and trap us here. This old man is just saying, this kind of trash is very common in the hidden families. Elder Yu was pissed that Old Hei stopped him, but he didn't want to admit his wrongdoing. He started blabbering. Old Hei smiled awkwardly at Elder Yu's arrogance, but didn't dare say anything. Flying Sparrow, what do you think of the entrance? Old Hei turned to Xiaoke. On the walls of the palace, there are many strange drawings. Perhaps the door to the underground palace is hidden within these drawings. Let's split up and search, Xiaoke said after looking around the palace. That's good. Let's split up. It'll be faster. Blackie nodded. But don't act rashly if you find a trap. Of course. Xiaoke nodded. With that, Old Hei and Xiaoke started searching, and even Elder Yu joined in. Elder Yu was in a rush as well. He wanted to get into the underground palace as soon as possible to find the treasures and complete the mission to return to the hidden house Yu. But Lin Yi didn't move, still standing in the middle of the palace. Old Hei didn't dare to care about Lin Yi's lack of sociability, and Elder Yu was too lazy to care. He didn't want to embarrass himself, so he let Lin Yi stand in the middle of the palace. Lin Yi didn't look at the murals, because the information Bujia gave Lin Yi did mention this palace before the entrance, but the key point wasn't the murals, but the stone pillars in the palace. Bujia didn't say what was special about these pillars, but the reminder was good enough. After all, Bujia was guessing a lot of things, and he hadn't been here himself. Male thief, is there something special about these pillars? Lingshan saw that Lin Yi's eyes were on the pillars. Yes, but I haven't discovered it yet. Lin Yi looked at one pillar first and didn't find anything special. Lin Yi then looked at the other pillars and didn't find anything out of place. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Perhaps he wasn't a professional in this area, so even if there was something special about these pillars, Lin Yi couldn't tell. There wasn't any danger in this mechanism, so Lin Yi didn't need to use the jade's warning function. Lin Yi's jade didn't react at all when he stood in front of the pillars. There were only a few paintings in the palace, and Old Hei, Xiaoke, and Elder Yu finished looking at them very quickly. They looked at each other again, but didn't find anything special. They were just normal paintings, like some kind of talisman that could make the dead feel at peace. There was nothing special about them. It seems like we went the wrong way. There's nothing special about these paintings, Xiaoke said. The last painting is the melody of an elegy, and it's also to let the dead rest. I'm afraid so. Old Hei was an experienced man, and he could tell that something was off. Then what do we do? Elder Yu wasn't very happy. They'd been looking for so long, and they still hadn't found anything. Let's look at the male thief. Old Hay wasn't happy, but he had to admit that the male thief might have found something. Male thief, what did you find? Elder Yu walked over and asked impolitely. Nothing, but there should be something special about these pillars. Flying Sparrow, what do you think? Linny didn't know much about this, but he could give Xiaoka a hint. Oh. Xiaoka hadn't thought about these pillars before, and now that Linny reminded her, she paused. Could it be that there was something special about these pillars? Pillars? Old Hay was also surprised. Normally, the stone pillars in ancient tombs were used to support the main hall and didn't have any other purpose. These things were different from stone statues and couldn't be moved. Normally, no one would use them as a mechanism, so he had forgotten about them as soon as he entered. But since Lin Yi said that there was something wrong with these pillars, Old Hay felt that perhaps there really was something wrong with them. Chapter 1369. Lin Yi was using all the time he had to practicing, and with Elder Yu in front of him, it was a good motivation. Elder Yu didn't expect Lin Yi to train after giving the suggestion, and was a little annoyed. Young thief, why aren't you helping us find the entrance? Why are you still training? Do you think you can beat me just because you've been training for a while? That's hard to say. You're injured now, and if I work a little harder, I'll be able to fight you to a draw. Lin Yi said faintly. Right, I might as well tell you that General Wei Wu and I are telepathic. Thanks for telling me it's a healer, and I can get it to heal when I'm not strong enough. You can't, so I'll just drag it out until you die. Lin Yi could see that Elder Yu was interested in General Wei Wu, and in order to stop him from thinking about it, Lin Yi had to warn him first. He didn't want to start a conflict with Elder Yu before he found the medical notes. Elder Yu humphed coldly. He was indeed injured, but he had been hiding it. That attack from the spirit beast wasn't fatal, but it did affect his strength a little, and he couldn't maintain his peak condition. His right arm, in particular, hadn't healed yet, and he couldn't use his full strength. It was a lot more taxing for him. Elder Yu didn't know that Lin Yi was going to kill him. I'll give you everything I promised you, but if you don't go find the entrance, wouldn't that be a waste of time? Elder Yu said after a sigh. I'm not good at this. It's good enough that I could tell there's something wrong with the pillar. Lin Yi said nonchalantly. If you want to go find it, don't get in my way. You. Elder Yu was a little pissed, but since Lin Yi was practicing, Elder Yu thought about it and decided to continue practicing as well. He sat down cross-legged and started practicing. He wasn't good at finding these traps, and so he might as well practice. And so, Lin Yi and Elder Yu, one old and one young, started practicing not too far away. Lingshan and Yutian, on the other hand, were too embarrassed to practice, so they pretended to look for the traps on the pillars. Songshan, Chu's villa. Today was the weekend, Saturday. Gooden was there as a bodyguard, but the atmosphere in the villa was a bit heavy. I'm so bored. Yao sis, I don't know what to do. Yushu laid on the sofa, yawning lazily. She turned off the tablet in her hands and complained to Mengyao. Then what do you want to do? Mengyao was playing Monopoly on her phone to kill time. Where did Shield Bro go? There's been no news of him for days. Maybe we should go look for him? Yushu suggested. Find him? Where could he find it? Lin Yi's looking for the fire spirit's fruit for Xiao Xiao, not playing. Don't disturb him. If you're bored, we can go shopping with Tang Yin in the afternoon. Shopping, huh? It's so boring without Shield Bro. Yushu was a little dispirited as she turned to Gooden, who was sitting at the entrance, staring blankly. Hey, Shield Bro's your boss. Why are you so boring? You're always so bored, and you're even blocking the entrance. What kind of bodyguard is this? Gooden's actions made Mengyao quite troubled as well. Wasn't this bodyguard a little too professional? When they were in the villa, he sat at the entrance like a door god, not caring about the time. When Mengyao and Yushu went out, he just sat in the car like a bodyguard, not saying a word. Boss told me to protect you guys, and I think that's the only way to keep you guys safe. Gooden said matter-of-factly. Oh, you beat me. Yushu was a little speechless. This guy didn't listen to her at all. He was a stubborn man, doing whatever Lin Yi told him to do, and not doing anything he wasn't told to do. And so, without Lin Yi as the chef, the villa went back to Falbert's 3 meals a day. In one of the luxurious villas on the outskirts of Donghai City, a hale and hearty old man in a white robe was glaring at the man in front of him who had lost half of his arm. The other party was so vicious that he beat you into a cripple? Master, please seek justice for your disciple. Please avenge your disciple. The man with half an arm missing was Ma Zhu, crippled by Lin Yi's energy bomb. Seeing that his master was finally here, Ma Zhu couldn't hold back the sadness in his heart anymore. He cried, "Your disciple's golden shield is gone, I can't train anymore." "Don't worry, I'll make sure that Lin Yi bastard wishes he was dead. I'll let you kill him with your own hands." This old man was Jin Wudi, an Earth-class early-phase peak physical practitioner. "Thank you, master." But, sighed. Ma Zhu couldn't help but sigh as he thought about his situation. "Don't worry, I'll think of a way for you to get some spiritual arts for you. You won't be able to go far on the physical path, but it's the same with spiritual arts. You'll be able to achieve more with both internal and external training." Jin Wudi consoled. But he knew that Ma Zhu was probably a cripple for the rest of his life. This villa belonged to the Eastern Sea Zhen family, and Jin Wudi was warmly welcomed by the Zhen father and son. "Elder Wudi, your arrival really brings light to our humble house." Zhen Dazhou was extremely respectful to Jin Wudi. "Please take a look, is there anything else you need?" No need to please me, I know what you're thinking." Jin Wudi didn't fall for that. "You don't need to be so fake, I'm here to avenge my disciple." "Of course, if that kid is your enemy, I'll take care of him, so you don't need to thank me." "I still need to thank you." Zhen Dazhou was a little awkward. "This is just a small gift from me, please accept it, Elder Wudi." With that, Zhen Dazhou handed a red packet to Jin Wudi. "What is it?" Jin Wudi asked faintly. "It's a 10 million deposit certificate." Zhen Dazhou didn't expect Jin Wudi to ask so directly. He paused but still said it honestly. "Oh." Jin Wudi nodded and took it. "Speak, what do you want me to do?" Chapter 1370. Dazhou, on the other hand, relaxed a little upon seeing Jin Wudi being so easygoing. He liked this type of person the most, taking money to get rid of trouble. He cut to the chase. "Elder Wudi, it's like this. Our Ingjun has been drooling over the 2 girls by Lin Yi's side for a long time. All this happened because of those 2 girls, so we can't let them go this time. If your son wants to play with those 2 girls, just say it." "What do you mean by cause?" "I don't care how it happened, all I know is that my beloved disciple was hurt by that little bastard Lin Yi, so I'll go after him." Wudi humphed. "But since you gave me 10 million, isn't it just 2 girls? I'll just grab them for you on the way." "Many thanks, Patriarch Invincible." Zhen Dazhou hurriedly expressed his gratitude. Spending 10 million on 2 girls was a little painful for him, but he had to spend it. The reason was that his son, Zhen Ingjun, was turned into a eunuch by Lin Yi, and while he was treated by Yaowang, the effects weren't that obvious. And so, Yaowang came up with an idea. Since Ingjun was drooling over Mengyao and Yushu, why not capture them and stimulate Ingjun a little? Who knows, there might be some unexpected effects, and it might cure Ingjun's impotence right away. For the sake of House Zhen, Dazhou had no choice but to take out 10 million for Jin Wudi to capture Mengyao and Yushu for his son to play with. Curing his son's illness was the most important thing. Jin Wudi coming down the mountain wasn't a secret, and so when he arrived in Donghai, House Yu, Xiao family, Hidden House Zhao, and Hidden House Pai received the news. Other noble houses like House Wu were the first to receive the news. After all, Jin Wudi was a physical practitioner, and House Wu naturally paid close attention to him. "Jishan, Jin Wudi has arrived in Donghai. Go visit him on behalf of House Pai. After all, his enemies are our enemies too. If necessary, I can help him in secret." The head of House Pai called his son Pai Jishan over and ordered. "Father, Jin Wudi is just an Earth-class early-phase peak physical practitioner. Do we need to pay him so much attention? Do we need to visit him personally?" Jishan asked, confused. As far as he was concerned, Jin Wudi was an Earth class, but his sect only had 1 Earth class. It barely counted as a sect, and among the hidden houses, it was the weakest. If it weren't for Jin Wudi, his sect would be the same as the common world's noble houses. "Jishan, Don't underestimate Jin Wudi. He may only be an Earth-class early-phase peak physical practitioner, but he's a Golden Shield practitioner. His entire body is as hard as steel, and even I can't do anything to him. Once the Golden Shield is completed, unless it's someone stronger than him, someone of the same level won't be able to do anything to him. Pai Jiaka waved his hand as he spoke seriously. Impossible? Does that mean that only a Sky class can deal with Jin Wudi? Father, you're an Earth class late phase peak physical practitioner, and you're no match for him? Zhishan's face changed as he asked in shock. That's not to say that I'm no match for him. He might not be able to beat me, but I definitely won't be able to beat him either. After all, the techniques I've used on him have practically no effect at all. Pai Jiaka smiled bitterly. That's the advantage of having a Golden Shield practitioner. Even a Sky class wouldn't be able to do anything to him if they didn't have a high attack type martial art. Only those with high attack power would be able to hurt him. I see, no wonder you're paying so much attention to him. Zhishan said. That's right. Although he's only an Earth class early phase peak physical practitioner, he's a member of a hidden noble house. His school is on the same level as us, and although we all look down on his strength, we still have to give him some face. Pai Jiaka explained. That's right. I understand. I'll go visit him now. If he can kill that Lin Yi and that warrior, that'd be great. Zhishan nodded. That warrior is evidently a powerful physical practitioner as well, or else he wouldn't have been able to kill Pai Yangyang with one punch. But with Jin Wudi here, there's nothing he can do. That's right. That means we'll just sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor. Pai Jiaka nodded. At the same time, Yinjing's house you had also received the news of Jin Wudi leaving the mountain. On one hand, they were happy that someone was looking for trouble with Lin Yi, but on the other hand, they were a little disappointed House Yu's revenge couldn't be taken by them, and now it was in the hands of an outsider. But Boss Yu was on a mission to hide House Yu, and he couldn't leave. He couldn't stop Jin Wudi, either, and could only console himself that whoever killed Lin Yi was the same. As long as the revenge was done, who cared how it was done? In the hidden house Zhao, while they knew that Jin Wudi was looking for trouble with Lin Yi, the head of the house, Zhao Guangyin, could only keep quiet. Everything in House Zhao was decided by the old man. He was the head of the house in name, but his power was small. If he could touch Lin Yi, he would have done it a long time ago. This time, Jin Wudi had solved a problem for him, indirectly avenging Qibing. However, he couldn't say this aloud, so he just gave Qibing a call and told him to keep an eye on the situation. Qibing, while I can't avenge you personally, this time, Jin Wudi is also looking for trouble with Lin Yi. When he does, you should go take a look as well. It'll count as getting revenge for you, Guanyin said as he dialed Qibing's number. Dad, it's such a shame that it's Jin Wudi. It'd be great if I killed Lin Yi myself. Qibing was a little reluctant. Qibing, you know my situation, it's very awkward in the hidden house Zhao. The old man doesn't give me any power, and I, as the young master, can't mobilize any Earth class and above. If I want to kill Lin Yi, I need an Earth class, Guangyin said, and my brother, your uncle, is also eyeing the position of the head of the house. If it weren't for the fact that Xiao Jin from House Yu is my wife, my position wouldn't be so secure. So, son, you have to understand me. Chapter 1371. Qibing might have said that, but he didn't think that way. He wanted to be the head of House Zhao too. He was only saying that because he wasn't strong enough, but no matter what, he had to let Guangyin take the seat first if he wanted to be the head of House Zhao. Of course, Chen Tian received a call from Gong Gao as well. Chen Tian, how have you been? I heard that 2 of the Shao clan's experts were killed? Gong Gao went into isolation after breaking through to Mystic Mid-Phase. He heard this shocking news as soon as he came out. He knew that his grandson was close with the Shao family, and he was worried that he would be dragged into this. That's right, he was killed by my boss with a single punch. They were Mystic Late Phase Peak Physical Practitioners, and my boss killed them with one punch. That's pretty amazing. Chen Tian said proudly. Your boss? What? You're saying that your boss killed the Pai Masters? What's going on? Since when did you have a boss? Gong Gao was shocked when he heard Chen Tian's words, his heart about to explode. You're a part of this too? Don't you know that they're a hidden house? You're in big trouble now. I didn't partake in it, I only accepted him as my boss after. I saw him kill Pai Yongyong with one punch, that's why I accepted him as my boss. If he gives me some pointers, I'll be rich. Chen Tian said gleefully. Idiot. Why are you so stupid? Other people would try to hide from something like this, and you actually acknowledged him as your boss? I heard that he's Lin Yi's follower, and you acknowledge Lin Yi as your boss too? Gong Gao was furious. Cut off all contact with him, or our house will be done for. Nope, I recognize Lin Yi's follower Air Gooden as my boss. Lin is my boss now. Chen Tian said, how can House Wu be destroyed? On the contrary, I feel that this is a good opportunity for the Wu family to rise. With Big Brother Gooden and Big Brother Lin Yi's guidance, my skills will definitely advance by leaps and bounds. If our Wu family has a young expert like me, we will be able to gain a foothold in the aristocratic family meeting. Aren't you and Lin Yi mortal enemies? Why did he recognize him as the boss? You idiot, the sect leader of the Golden Clock sect, Jin Wudi, has already left the mountain, and his target is Lin Yi. This time, Lin Yi is dead for sure. Hurry up and draw a line with them. Otherwise, our Wu family will be implicated. Wu Gonggao said angrily. Golden Bell Clan's Jin Wudi? Wasn't that a master at the peak of early phase Earth class? He wants to deal with Big Boss? No, I have to tell Big Brother Gooden and have him prepare. Chen Tian's first reaction was to tell Air Gooden. You idiot, if Jin Wudi makes a move, there's no way Lin Yi will survive. If you leak the news, it will definitely implicate our Wu clan. Gong Gao was about to explode. Was this grandson stupid? He was still on Lin Yi's side at a time like this. Plus, weren't he and Lin Yi love rivals? With that thought, Gong Gao asked, isn't Lin your love rival? But, oh, since Big Brother likes Sun Jingyi, I, as his follower, can't fight for her. I can only give her up. But it doesn't matter. What's a man afraid of not having a wife? Once I become a mystic, I'll be able to find anyone I want. It's not a problem for me to have multiple wives. Chen Tian was quite open-minded. Sun Jingyi is good, but she doesn't belong to me. I won't waste my effort on her. I don't want to make Big Boss unhappy. Alright, Grandpa, I won't talk to you anymore. I have to hurry and find Boss Gooden. Traitor. What a traitor. I'm so pissed. Gong Gao's heart spasmed, and his eyes rolled back as he fainted. But Chen Tian had already hung up, not knowing that his grandpa had fainted again. Chen Tian rushed to the Chu villa where Lin Yi was, pressing the doorbell. The door god Air Gooden heard the doorbell and walked out to see who it was. He paused when he saw Chenan. You're that Wu something? Why you here? Wu Chen Tian. Chen Tian introduced himself with a face full of smiles. Boss Gooden, I'm here to tell you something. Tell me something? What do you mean? Gooden paused, not understanding. It's like this. According to reliable sources, the head of the Golden Bell sect, Jin Wudi, came down the mountain to cause trouble for Big Boss Lin. I heard that he's an Earth class early phase peak. I wonder if Boss Gooden can handle him? Chen Tian said. Earth class early phase peak? Is he strong? Gooden frowned. He used to live in a village, and he didn't know much about strength classifications, so he really was asking if an Earth class was strong. But in Chen Tian's ears, it became Gooden's disdainful question. Was an Earth class strong? Ha, of course he's not that strong in your eyes, Boss Gooden, but I heard that his physical training has reached the peak of perfection, and he's a master of Golden Shield. Normal Sky class masters can't do anything to him. Chen Tian reminded. What Golden Bell cover at the peak? If he dares come, I'll kill him with one punch. Gooden didn't care if he had the Golden Bell cover or not. If he really came looking for trouble, he'd kill him with one punch. Ha! Suddenly, a piercing laughter came from outside the villa. From a car, a white-robed old man came down, and the laughter came from his mouth. Behind him were Zhen Dezhou, Zhen Yingjun, Pai Zhishan, the two Xiao family brothers, and Zhao Qibing in a wheelchair. These people all had a direct grudge against Lin Yi, so after visiting Jin Wudi, they came to watch. The white-robed old man was Jin Wudi. Zhen Yingjun, Pai Zhishan, the Xiao family brothers, and Zhao Qibing all thought that Lin Yi was dead for sure. Chapter 1372. Old man, What's wrong with you? Why are you laughing at our door? If there's nothing, leave. I'm the bodyguard here, and I don't allow strangers around here. Gooden looked at Woody, thinking that he was an idiot. Kid, I'm Gene Woody. Didn't you say you wanted to kill me with one punch? Gene Woody once again laughed mockingly like he had heard a joke. Ha, ignorant brat. You're Gene Woody? Gooden paused, not expecting this idiot to be the Gene Woody Chintian was talking about. That's me. Woody said proudly. He's Gene Woody? Why is he acting like an idiot? Gooden looked at Woody and turned to Chintian. Is there a mistake? Boss, I think it's him. Chintian looked at Gene Woody. He hadn't seen him before, but he knew the people behind him. With them here, no one would try to impersonate Gene Woody. Oh, then you're Gene Woody. Old man, what are you doing here? I heard you're here to cause trouble for my boss? If that's the case, then I'll have to kill you with one punch. Gooden looked at Woody. Ha! Woody started laughing once more, extremely joyful. He turned around and looked at Jiningjun and Pai Jishan, his expression very interesting. Did you hear that? He said he's going to kill me with one punch. Do you think that's funny? Ha! Jiningjun laughed. This guy is overestimating himself and wanting to kill the invincible elder with one punch? Even 100 punches wouldn't kill him. He'd tire himself to death. Ha! Gene Woody nodded in satisfaction at Jiningjun's cooperation. Wu Chintian, what's wrong with you? Why are you on Lin Yi's side? Could it be that you want to become enemies with Xiao family, House Pai and House Zhao? Wang Ba pointed at Chintian. House Wu was Xiao family's ally, but who would have thought that Wu Chintian would suddenly take the enemy as his boss? Lin Yi is my boss now, so of course I'm on his side. Chintian said matter-of-factly, the people your Xiao family hired are too weak. They're too weak in front of my boss, let alone my boss. I want to learn Kung Fu from them. I want to become a powerful person. Wu Chintian, have you thought about the consequences? Wang Ba's face was disrespected, his tone darkened. You have to know that you are going against our Xiao family, House Pai, and even House Zhao. What are you? You're that old woman's son? Shut up first, or else I'll kill you too. And the rest of you, shut up. Gooden was getting annoyed by these people. This Wu Chintian wasn't strong, but he was loyal. He took him as his boss, and he hadn't even taught him anything yet, and he was already so loyal. This gave Gooden a good impression of him. Actually, Chintian was a bit arrogant, but he wasn't a complete idiot. He had his own plans. In the martial world, the biggest taboo was people who went back on their word. He used to be friends with the Xiao family brothers, so it wasn't a big deal. But now that he had Gooden as his boss, things were different. So, since Chintian had his eyes set on Gooden, he'd follow him to the end. Of course, he had high hopes for Gooden as well, thinking that he could win. Otherwise, why would Gooden say that Earth class was powerful? Qibing started laughing loudly. Who do you think you are? Even Lin Yi wouldn't dare say something like that, and you're just a follower of Lin Yi? How dare you be so arrogant? Don't you know that people get hurt easily when they're too arrogant? Oh, I know. It's because you're too arrogant. That's why Shield Bro broke your leg. Yushu looked at Qibing sympathetically. At this time, Yushu and Mengyao came out as well. They heard the commotion in the villa and naturally came out to see what was going on. They didn't expect to see so many people. Yushu, don't be so arrogant. Jiningjun's going to play with you soon. Qibing's eyes flashed with hatred when he saw Yushu. Oh, that's not going to happen. Yushu said nonchalantly, it'll be Shield Bro playing with me. As for that Jiningjun, he'll be pissing his pants when Gene Woody dies. It doesn't matter what you say. Qibing didn't believe that a follower of Lin Yi could fight against Gene Woody. But why wasn't Lin Yi here? Prophet Shu's always accurate. See for yourself if you don't believe me. Yushu looked at Qibing with disdain as if he was ignorant. What's going on? Mengyao waved her hand, telling Yushu to stop talking. She looked at Gooden. This Gene Woody, he said he's here to cause trouble for boss. Should I just kill him? Gooden pointed at Gene Woody. You want to cause trouble for Lin Yi? Mengyao frowned and looked at Gene Woody. I don't just want Lin Yi's life, I'll bring you 2 girls back as well. I took 10 million from House Jin to bring you back for them to play with. Woody said nonchalantly, not afraid that Meng Yao would find out. Meng Yao wanted to ask what was going on, but the old man said something so shameless. She was a bit pissed. Gooden, kill him then. Shoo, let's go back. Going back won't do anything. I'll take care of Lin Yi and this brat, and then I'll bring you back. With that, Woody turned to Gooden. Where's Lin? Tell him to come out and die as well. This turtle, letting his follower take the blame. As far as Woody was concerned, Gooden was just an idiot, talking about killing people every time he opened his mouth. Didn't he know that his main skill was the golden shield? Did he think he was strong just because he killed 2 mystics from House Pai? Boss isn't here. He told me to protect Meng Yao and Yushu. If you want to capture them, then I'll have to kill you. Gooden said seriously, Old man, do you really want to die? Chapter 1373. All right. Gooden nodded. He was trying to distract Woody and kill him in one move, but he didn't expect Woody to give him the chance. Gooden was overjoyed. Jean Woody laughed and patted his chest. He stood in the courtyard and said, Hit me, I will let you hit me. Let's see if you can kill me. Ignorant brat, have you heard of the golden shield? Gooden said honestly, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds really strong. I should be able to kill you. Gooden's words drew a wave of laughter from everyone present, especially Zhen Ingjun and Qibing. Zhen Ingjun wasn't from a noble house, and he didn't have the rules of a noble house, so he didn't care. Qibing, on the other hand, was from a hidden noble house, so he didn't care either. The Xiao family brothers, on the other hand, didn't dare laugh too much since Jishan and Qibing were there. Jishan, on the other hand, was an introverted man. He came here to support Woody, but he wasn't the type to show his emotions on his face. Plus, he knew that the 2 masters from House Pai weren't top-level masters, but they were killed so easily by Lin Yi's men. This meant that Uncle Pai's death wasn't a coincidence. Even if Go Huli didn't hit him, he wouldn't be able to live for long. If Lin Yi and Gooden were this strong, then where did these 2 come from? Could they really be from some ancient sect or ancient house? Even someone like Jishan hadn't heard of these 2 before. These 2 couldn't have come out of nowhere, could they? Hence, before Pai Jishan could confirm this point, he would not show his attitude. If even Woody wasn't a match for them, then he'd have to go back to House Pai and plan things out. If these 2 really came from the ancient world, then House Pai would be in trouble. In the eyes of the ancient sects and families, the hidden aristocratic families weren't much. They were experts at the peak of the late phase of the heaven realm. Fine, then I'll let you hit me. If you can't kill me, I'll destroy your entire family. Jean Woody looked at Gooden mockingly. He really didn't know fear, didn't he? He didn't even know about the golden shield and he dared to attack. Not far from the Chu family's villa, a black figure was anxiously making a phone call. Elderly, I am Shadow 13. Jean Woody has come down the mountain, but I have been here for a few days and haven't seen Lin. He seems to have gone out and only sent one of his brothers to protect the little Mississippi. Now Jean Woody has come and said that he wants to capture the little miss. The Black Shadow's voice was a little rushed. What? How is Jean Woody so fast? Elderly was visibly shocked. He hadn't expected Jean Woody to come down the mountain in just a day. Originally, he wanted to inform Lin Yi through the Dark Shadow group to make preparations or to lie low for a while, but he didn't expect that the other party wouldn't give him any time at all. What do we do now? Dark Shadow, requesting backup. Shadow 13 said, both sides are at each other's throats, but from what Jean Woody said, the little miss will be fine for now, but that Zhen Ingjun wants to take her away. If we have time, we can save her. Elder Li's heart was burning with anxiety, but there was nothing he could do. These years, his control over the Dark Palace was getting weaker and weaker. All the power was concentrated in the hands of the Great Elder, and he could only control the Dark Shadow Group. But the Dark Shadow Group's cultivation was the kind of qinggong that was used for hiding and gathering information, not for attacking. Other than the Dark Shadow Group, however, he couldn't use anyone else. I'll report to the Grand Elder right now. Elder Li said, keep an eye on the situation, report to me immediately if there's any news. Sir. Shadow 13 replied. After hanging up the phone, Elder Li hurriedly ran to the Grand Elder's residence. Elder Li, what's wrong? The Grand Elder glanced at Elderly, who ran in anxiously, frowned slightly, and asked indifferently, "You're already an adult, why are you so anxious?" "Grand Elder, the little miss is in danger, I'm requesting backup." Elderly was an elder of the Dark Palace, and naturally he was allowed to enter the Grand Elder's residence. However, the Grand Elder was a bit impatient with him, and every time he came, it was always about Meng Yao. "Danger? What does it have to do with you? What does it have to do with the Dark Palace?" The Grand Elder asked back. "Grand Elder, that is Mrs. Bloodline after all. She might also have the bloodline of the Dark Phoenix clan. She might be the next palace master of our palace." Elderly said, "Someone with the bloodline of the Dark Phoenix clan has the highest chance of breaking through to sky rank." "Back then, old madam, all right. You've said this 100 times already. How could one and a mortal have the Dark Phoenix bloodline? It's all impurities, and it'll be hard for her to achieve anything on the path of martial arts. Do you want me to give her a bone-cleansing pill?" The Grand Elder waved his hand impatiently. "If you can get me a bone-cleansing pill, I'll agree to bring that little bastard back." Elderly couldn't help but smile bitterly after hearing the Grand Elder's words. Bone-cleansing pill was such a powerful medicine. There was only one in the Sky Elixir Sect's vault. How could they give it to him? Even if there wasn't a grudge between the Sky Elixir Sect and the Dark Palace, even if the Sky Elixir Sect's young master had married one, or back then, he wouldn't have used the bone-cleansing pill on a child. One had to know that the true use of the bone-cleansing pill was for those who reached Sky Class, to pursue higher realms. Saying that it was priceless was an understatement. The Grand Elder's words were tantamount to blocking Elderly's following words. Because the Grand Elder's condition was completely impossible to fulfill. "But it's better than nothing, right?" Elderly said carefully. "I've already tested her back then. If she really had talent, would I still need you to tell me?" The Grand Elder said faintly, "All right, there's no need to talk about this anymore. You can leave." "Grand Elder, please reconsider." Elderly didn't seem to give up. "Grand Elder, do you really want to watch Little Miss be tainted by bad people?" Chapter 1374. "I will take my leave." Elderly let out a long sigh and walked out of the Grand Elder's residence dejectedly. In his heart he was hesitating whether he should tell young Miss about this matter, but if he were to tell young Miss would definitely be heartbroken and might do something. But if he were to not tell, once young Miss knew the truth, she would definitely hate him in her heart. At that moment, Elderly was in a dilemma, not knowing what to do. "Lin Yi, you're not a good bodyguard at all, leaving at a time like this. If something really happens to Miss Xiao Xiao, I won't let you go." Elderly gritted his teeth and thought to himself, the day of the Heaven Class meeting is getting closer and closer. When the Great Elder isn't in the Palace of Darkness, I'll go down the mountain and kill every single one of you. House Yu, Xiao family, Golden Clock Sect, Hidden House Pai, Hidden House Zhao, I'll bring my men and kill every single one of you. At the entrance of House Chu's villa, the tension continued. "Then I'll do it?" Gooden looked at Jean Wudi, who stood in front of him with his chest puffed out. "Go ahead." Wudi stood proudly in the yard, his eyes full of disdain. Even those famous masters from the hidden houses wouldn't dare say they could kill him with one punch, let alone an ignorant kid like you. Ask them if they could even injure him with one punch. They wouldn't even break a bone in his body. Gooden nodded and gritted his teeth, channeling his energy, and punched out. There was a loud explosion and Jean Wudi disappeared. Where did he go? Gooden paused. Zhen Yingjun suddenly burst into laughter. "Ha! Old ancestor Wudi dodged it. Look at your idiot face." But did Jean Wudi really dodge it? Gooden felt that he'd definitely hit the target, and he'd used all his strength to do it. He didn't know how strong an Earth class was, but just looking at these people's faces, he knew that they were strong. In order to kill this person, Gooden had to use all his strength to do that punch. The goal was to kill Jean Wudi with one punch, to prevent any future problems. Luckily, he didn't need to sneak attack. Jean Wudi gave him a chance to go all out. After that punch, Gooden felt the blood in his body surge, and the poison in his body couldn't be suppressed anymore. It was starting to move. Gooden had a limit to how much strength he could use, and this time, he was at the edge of his limit. But Gooden was an honest guy, but he wasn't stupid. He couldn't do anything inappropriate right now, or Meng Yao and Yushu would be in danger. He wouldn't be able to complete the mission his boss gave him. Gooden was starting to regret it. He should have killed Pai Yang and Mr. Pai with one punch the first time he saw them. He didn't waste so much energy and end up fighting them a second time. Only the idiot Jin Ingjun thought that Jin Wudi had dodged it. Pai Jishan's expression was ugly. Jin Wudi's dead. Chen Tian suddenly pointed at the wall outside the villa excitedly. Everyone followed Chen Tian's gaze and saw that Jin Wudi's entire body had sunk into the opposite wall of the villa. His chest was caved in, his eyes were bulging out, and his mouth was full of blood. Evidently, he wasn't going to make it. Gooden breathed in relief. It was good that he was dead. He didn't think that his punch would be so strong that he'd sent Wudi flying across the street. No wonder he was looking for him. What? Qibin paused. He's dead? Jishan took a deep breath and walked towards Gooden. What are you doing? Do you want to die too? Gooden said fiercely. He couldn't do it again. Hero Godan, you've misunderstood. Pai Jishan stopped in his tracks, not daring to walk any further. This guy looked like a simple-minded person, but he could easily kill someone with a single punch. Pai Jishan didn't dare to do anything rash. If he was killed by this guy again, it would be a huge loss. What misunderstanding? Gooden asked. There seems to be some misunderstanding between you and House Pai. I'm the young master of House Pai, Yin. I apologize on behalf of the two Pais. We, House Pai, have no intention of becoming enemies with you and your boss Lin. We hope you don't mind, Master Gooden. Jishan was a man who knew when to give and when to stand up. He was the proud first successor of House Pai, and it was hard for him to say something like this. But he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. Jishan understood the situation. This Gooden was too strong. He could kill someone like Jin Wudi with his golden shield in one punch. Wouldn't that be like a game to him? Even his father, Pai Jiaka, couldn't do anything to Jin Wudi, so if this guy were to beat his father, it'd be a piece of cake. Oh, I killed those two already, and they learned their lesson. I won't cause you any trouble. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Gooden said it like it was nothing, but he was panicking on the inside. He forced himself not to spit out a mouthful of blood, feeling really uncomfortable. If that's the case, then I'll be leaving. We owe you a favor, Master Gooden. If you need anything in the future, just let us know. Jishan knew that Gooden didn't want to talk to him, so he cupped his fist and gestured to the Xiao family brothers before leaving with them. Wang Ba and Wang Dao, on the other hand, were regretting their mouths. If they knew that Chen Tian's boss was this strong, they wouldn't have said anything. If they had medicine for regret, Xiao family would have joined Lin. Look, House Wu's glory days were just around the corner. Zhen Dazhou and Jin Ingjun were dumbfounded as well. He died just like that? Fuck, what kind of terrifying existence was this family? Last time, Ma Zhu was heavily injured, but at least he survived. This time, he didn't even get to say a few words, and he was killed. The two looked at each other, seeing the fear in each other's eyes. Last time when Ma Zhu was injured, the father and son still had the intention of revenge in their hearts. But now, they knew that revenge had become a joke. An Earth-class master could be killed with one punch. Then, in the eyes of others, what difference was there between them and ants? Chapter 1375. With that thought, the two wanted to slip away, but Yushu stopped them. Hey, wait, didn't you want to play with us? Zhen Ingjun stumbled, almost falling. Play with his head, he might not be a man or a woman right now, but he wasn't dead yet. If he played with her, then he'd really be dead. So he quickly smiled and said, Sister Shu, I was just joking. You can be played by your shield bro. I'm leaving now. Bye, that's more like it, Scram. Yushu was very happy after hearing that and let him go for now. Zhen Dezhou and Jin Ingjun turned and left as if they were pardoned. Only Zhao Qibing was left in the wheelchair. Hey, Zhao Qibing, did you see that? Prophet Shu is so strong, arrogant people get punished. Look, Jin Wudi's dead, right? Yushu looked at Qibing. I'm sorry, we're just passing by, we're actually here to buy some soy sauce. Sihua, who was pushing Qibing's wheelchair, was the first to react. He grinned and said innocently, "We're just here to watch the show, we'll be leaving now." "Yeah, we're here to watch." Qibing quickly said, annoyed. He shouldn't have come if he'd known. What the hell was this, Jin Woody? Invincible? Invincible my ass. Qibing left as well, and Gooden's calm face turned an unhealthy shade of red. He spat out a mouthful of blood and held his chest. He hadn't felt this in years, ever since the first time he felt this pain. He'd been drinking the mystical spring water ever since, but now that he didn't have any, he could only endure it. "Boss, what's wrong?" Chen Tian was calling someone to get rid of Jin Woody's body. This wasn't a problem for a noble like him, but he saw Gooden spitting out blood. What's wrong?" Yushu jumped up. "Are you hurt?" "Zhou Jiaming, are you okay? I'll call Faubert and get him to send you to the hospital?" Meng Yao asked. "No need." Gooden waved his hand. He knew his situation, and going to the hospital wouldn't help much. Chen Tian quickly held him up. "Boss, I'll help you in." Gooden nodded, thinking that Chen Tian was a nice guy. He wanted to take him in as a follower. After entering the villa, Gooden sat on the sofa with an ugly expression on his face, as if he was about to die from a disease. "Boss, what do we do now? House Wu isn't as rich as you, but we do have some good medicine. Should I get someone to send you some?" Chen Tian asked. "No need. Thank you." Gooden looked at Chen Tian and sighed. "I'm injured, so I need to rest for a while. Boss Lin isn't back yet, so can you stay in the villa and protect Meng Yao and Yushu?" He had no choice but to give Chen Tian the task of protecting Meng Yao and Yushu. He didn't know what Chen Tian was like, but he didn't have a choice. He'd let Faubert stay at night, and with Faubert there, Chen Tian wouldn't be able to do anything. Deal. Gooden didn't know what Chen Tian's personality was like, but it was a last resort. He'd let Faubert stay at night as well, and with Faubert there, Chen Tian wouldn't be able to do anything. Deal. Chen Tian patted his chest without hesitation. "Boss, don't worry, leave this to me. I'll protect Meng Yao and Yushu. I'll be here if they're in trouble." Chen Tian's arrogance was real, but his words were true. He had no choice. As the heir of House Wu, this was the first time he'd stood on Lin Yi's side, and after what happened today, he was now Lin Yi's follower. If something really happened to Meng Yao and Yushu, it meant that Lin Yi was done for as well, and so was House Wu. So, he could only do his best to protect Meng Yao and Yushu. There was no other way. Everything that happened fell into Shadow 13's eyes. After Jin Woody died, he called Elderly again. "How is it? Is the mist taken away?" Elderly picked up the phone and asked worriedly, his voice lacking the calmness that an elder of an ancient sect should have. It wasn't his fault. This involved the daughter of the miss he loved the most. How could he keep calm? "Elderly, Jin Woody's dead." That was the first thing he said. Dead? Elderly was shocked. How did he die? Did a master do something? No, it's Lin Yi's follower, that Gooden hero or something, and he killed Jin Woody with one punch. Shadow 13 was shocked as well. Just what kind of person was this, to be able to kill an Earth-class early-phase peak with one punch? He killed Jin Woody with one punch? How strong is he? Elderly's mouth was wide open. Wasn't this Lin Yi follower too strong? Yes, one punch. More accurately, it was 2 fists. As for how strong he is, I can't tell. Shadow 13 frowned. I can tell Jin Woody's strength, I can tell Pai Jishan's strength, but I can't tell how strong this Gooden hero is. What? You can't tell? How old is he? Elderly was even more shocked. The Dark Shadow group wasn't good at attacking, but they were good at gathering intel. They had a special ability that allowed them to see through a practitioner's strength, and the Dark Shadow group couldn't see through them unless they knew how to hide their strength, or if they were already Sky-class late-phase peak, starting to return to their original state. But how old was Lin Yi's follower? How could he be a Sky-class late-phase peak? Not old, he should be around 20. Shadow 13 said, I suspect that he doesn't have any strength at all. He's an unranked master. Unranked master? Elderly paused. An unranked master could kill Jin Woody, an Earth-class early-phase peak with a golden bell shield. Chapter 1376. Phew. But no matter what, this matter has passed peacefully. Little Miss is fine, and I can rest assured. Pay close attention to the follow-up news, and report to me at any time. Elder Li finally let out a sigh of relief in his heart. It seemed like Lin Yi had arranged everything perfectly, and he'd worried for nothing. He was an elder of the Dark Palace, and he wasn't even as good as that little bodyguard of Lin. Yes. Shadow 13 replied, "Don't worry, Elder Li, but we, the Dark Shadow Group, can only gather information. We can't deal with sudden incidents." This Shadow 13 was one of Elder Li's confidants, so he didn't have to worry too much about what he said. I'll have to fight with the Grand Elder again, but you've brought good news this time. It seems like this Lin Yi's background is strong enough. Elder Li exclaimed, "If he really is that strong, then I'm sure the Grand Elder won't stop us." Shadow 13 didn't dare say much about the internal affairs of the Dark Palace, and hung up after listening quietly. Elder Li, on the other hand, headed to the Grand Elder's residence. "Why are you here again?" Seeing that Elder Li had returned, the Grand Elder was immediately a little annoyed. Why was there no end to this person? His face was a little cold. "Grand Elder, I have something important to report," Elder Li said quickly. "If it's about that little bitch Meng Yao, then don't bother, I'm going to train." The Grand Elder interrupted impatiently. This matter concerns the little miss, but..." Elder Li was a little hesitant. The Grand Elder's words had blocked all the words he wanted to say. "But what? Whether she lives or dies has nothing to do with me." The Grand Elder waved his hand, ready to chase him away. "Grand Elder, let me finish. It's like this, that Jin Wudi was killed." Elder Li saw that the Grand Elder wasn't giving him any leeway, and he could only continue. "The one who killed Jin Wudi was Lin Yi's follower? What do you want to tell me? Is Lin Yi's little brother very powerful?" The Grand Elder frowned. "What's so strange about killing an Earth-class master? Can't we kill each other?" "Elder on the stage, little Mrs. Bodyguard isn't weak. A bodyguard's underling can kill an Earth stage master with a casual punch. What kind of strength does this underling need? According to my investigation, Lin is only at the mystic stage. Why is this little brother willing to be the little brother of a mystic stage master?" Elder Li analyzed. "This Lin Yi, I'm afraid he has a certain power behind him. Maybe he's the young master of some family or sect. At the level of the ancient sects and ancient families, do you think I don't know what kind of disciples there are? Do I need you to analyze it?" The Grand Elder humphed coldly. "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You're just saying that to make me think that Lin Yi has a powerful background, and for us to rope him in. But as far as I'm concerned, that Lin Yi is just a freelancer. His strength isn't enough to enter the eyes of the Dark Palace." Elder Li was a bit awkward. That was what he was thinking, but the Grand Elder had seen through him. "Even so, it's not easy to have this kind of strength in the common world. As the saying goes, one more friend means one more path. Even if he's a freelancer, it's still worth it for us to rope him in. Now that he's shown such talent, if other sects get him first. He's just a mortal freelancer, he's not worth the Dark Palace recruiting. But this Peng Zhan is quite skillful. Where did he find such a bodyguard?" The Grand Elder said faintly, "But you should investigate this Lin Yi's background. If he's really worth it, then we might as well give him some benefits. Whatever Peng Zhan can give him, we can give him too." "Grand Elder, you mean poaching?" Elder Li was taken aback. "Didn't you tell me that this person has potential, that he's worth recruiting?" The Grand Elder said faintly. "But, Miss..." Elder Li paused, wondering if he'd done something unnecessary. He'd shot himself in the foot. Now Lin Yi was being watched by the Grand Elder, and he was being roped into the Palace of Darkness. What about Ming Yao's safety? Are you trying to recruit a talent, or are you worried about the safety of a little bastard? The Grand Elder was a bit annoyed. "All right, you can leave. People like you who care about this and that every day, people who are blinded by love, don't even think about the future of the Palace of Darkness. All you care about is that little bastard. If that little bastard can turn the Dark Palace into a first-class ancient sect, I'll even be her servant, otherwise there's no way." "Then I'll take my leave." Elder Li sighed helplessly, but he didn't dare to say anything more. The Great Elder was an extremist. As long as it was good for the Dark Palace and could promote the development of the Dark Palace, then she would sacrifice her life for it. But if it wasn't good for the Dark Palace, she wouldn't give in even if she was beaten to death. Elder Li, on the other hand, was afraid that he'd said too much, and the Grand Elder insisted on recruiting Lin Yi to the Dark Palace. That way, where would Peng Zhan find another powerful bodyguard? So Elder Li decided to leave first. He turned and left the Grand Elder's place. In the Xiao family villa, Pai Zhishan sat on the sofa with a serious face. Beside him was Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben, while Xiao Wangba and Xiao Wangdao stood respectfully on the side. By now, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben had learned of what had happened, and they were both shocked. They thought that with Jin Wudi, Lin Yi's family would be dead for sure, but in the blink of an eye, it was Jin Wudi's death. Even the young master of House Pai had lowered his head. Didn't that mean that Xiao family was in danger? Master Pai, you can't just leave Xiao family like that. We offended House Chu this time to help House Pai get some wealth. You can't just leave us like that. Xiao Ji was afraid that House Pai would just leave them be. They were a hidden house, and if they just left, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to find them. Chapter 1377. Since House Pai chose to work with House Xiao, naturally we won't leave you guys alone. Plus, you guys were doing this for House Pai's money. Now that something happened, we can't just walk away. Zhishan waved his hand, telling Xiao Ji not to worry. Zhishan was a scheming man, or else he wouldn't be the first heir of House Pai. As far as he was concerned, what the Xiao family did pissed him off, but they couldn't let go of the Xiao family right now. If they really did leave the Xiao family alone, it'd be a huge blow to House Pai's reputation. People worked for you, and if you left them alone after something happened, who would work for you in the future? House Pai's reputation would be tarnished, and they wouldn't be able to earn money in the common world. Naturally, Zhishan wouldn't do anything that would disappoint the Xiao family. Big bro, you're worrying too much. Master Pai isn't that kind of person. If he didn't want to care about us, he wouldn't be sitting here. Xiao Ben laughed, praising Zhishan. He and Xiao Ji had been brothers for so many years, and they had great teamwork. With the two of them working together, they tied House Pai and Xiao family together. Zhishan, of course, knew what the Xiao family brothers were up to. He just didn't want to expose them, smiling faintly. But that Air Gooden really isn't easy to mess with. You guys stay away from him and don't mess with him, and don't even think about touching House Chu. All in all, House Pai is dead, and the grudge is over. This was caused by Jin Wudi, and it doesn't have much to do with us. If we don't do anything, Lin Yi probably won't come looking for trouble anymore. That's true. Xiao Ji nodded. This time, he didn't dare think about anything anymore. Even House Pai gave in. How many brains did he have? Anyways, be careful when you do business. With your Xiao family's influence in the common world and House Pai's name, you don't have to do anything illegal to earn money. Don't think of anything bad in the future. Look at House Yu's business. Isn't it doing well too? Zhishan stated his standpoint. The noble houses weren't part of the rules, but Zhishan didn't want any more trouble, especially with Lin Yi and Air Gooden. If he pissed them off, it wouldn't be worth it. You're right, young Master Pai. Xiao Ben nodded and said, in the future, let's do some proper business. It's good that you know. Alright then, I'll go back first. In a few days, House Pai will send another master over, but I'll restrict him as well. He can only do anything if his business is affected. As for business, he's forbidden from participating. Zhishan said. House Pai had quite a lot of masters, but they couldn't afford to lose so much. If this one died, it'd be a huge loss for House Pai. Young Master Pai, this time, can you send us an Earth class? Xiao Ji looked at the Earth class, his heart itching. If House Xiao had an Earth class, they'd be stronger than House Yu. They'd become the #1 noble house in the upcoming noble house meeting. Many people were like that. They didn't know how to be satisfied. Xiao Ji was still hoping that House Pai wouldn't give up on Xiao family, but now, he wanted someone stronger. Earth class definitely won't do. Zhishan waved his hand. Hidden noble houses have their own rules, and there's an arbitration association that keeps the balance. Jin Wudi came out of seclusion, but he had to apply for it. We, House Pai, may be investigating Uncle Pai's death and interfering with the common world's business, but our goal is to make money, different from Jin Wudi. House Pai should be more discreet, And as long as they don't cause us trouble, we won't apply for anything. I see. Xiao Ji was a little disappointed. Then he's still a mystic? Yes, a mystic in the common world. As long as you don't mess with people like Lin Yi and Erguden, you'd be considered one of the top. Jishan said, I'll go back. I still need to report what happened here to my father. Master Pai, then tell me, that Guden master was able to kill an Earth class. What class is he? How did he get permission to appear here? Xiao Ben asked curiously. There are even stronger existences above the hidden noble houses that you don't know about. It's best if you don't know about. Knowing too much isn't necessarily a good thing. Jishan said. Yes. Xiao Ben's face turned serious, not daring to keep asking as he sent Jishan out of Xiao family. After leaving Xiao family, Jishan didn't go straight back to House Pai. Instead, he found a place with no one around and called his father, Pai Jiaka. Jishan, how's the situation over there? Is Linny dead? Jiaka asked. Father, there's been an accident. Jin Wudi was killed. Jishan said. What? Beaten to death? What happened? Who killed him? Pai Jiaka was taken aback and quickly asked. Jishan told his father everything that happened in detail, not hiding anything. He even told his father about how he apologized to Guden. Jishan, you did the right thing. Lowering your head now is the right. A man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. If it's really like what you said, then there's a big problem here. That Lin Yi's follower is already this strong. He's probably from the ancient level. Jiaka said seriously, if that's the case, then House Pai can't mess with him. Yeah, father, but the weird thing is, when this Guden attacked, I didn't feel any energy ripples from him. It's like he's not a practitioner. This was what Jishan found strange. No energy ripples? How is that possible? Whether it's a spiritual practitioner or a physical practitioner, they all show their strength when they attack. It's impossible to hide it even if they wanted to, so why can't you feel it? Jiaka paused. That's the only thing I'm confused about, Jishan said. Here, you look around stealthily. With your skills, that Guden shouldn't be able to sense you. You're a physical practitioner, and you're good at hiding your presence. You look around and see if you can find any clues. Jiaka said. All right, I haven't left anymore. I'll go take a look, Jishan nodded. Chapter 1378. There weren't any masters in the Chu Villa right now, only Wu Chentian, a golden class early phase. Faubert was on his way back, but he hadn't arrived yet, so Jishan easily found Guden's room. Jishan put his ear on the wall, listening to the movements in the room. Hello? Hello, is this Grandpa Lin? I'm Herr Guden. Guden was weakly calling old Lin on the phone. Now that he saw Lin Yi, he naturally got old Lin's number again. Now that Lin Yi wasn't here, he could only ask old Lin for help. Herr Guden? How are you? Why do you sound so weak? What's wrong? Old Lin didn't know what to make of Guden's sudden call. He knew that Lin Yi had asked Guden to protect Meng Yao and Yushu, but he wouldn't call if it wasn't something important. Grandpa Lin, I've used up all my strength, and I can't suppress the negative effects anymore. What should I do? Lin Yi boss isn't back yet, and I can't leave the villa yet. If I don't finish the mission, Guden said. What? You've used up all your strength? Old Lin paused. Herr Guden, if that's the case, you have to come back immediately. Otherwise, your life might be in danger. It's fine, I can still hold on. Guden smiled bitterly. Plus, I have to hold on. This is the mission boss gave me, and I can't let him down. Then you can't use any more strength. Just lie in bed every day, and when Lin Yi comes back, you go back to West Star Village immediately. Old Lin said after a sigh. He knew Guden's personality. He was honest, but stubborn. He promised Lin Yi that he would do something and he wouldn't stop halfway. Yeah, I know, I'm lying in bed every day. Once Lin Yi boss comes back, I'll go back, Guden said. Hearing this, Pai Jishan's expression became even more confused. What was going on? There seemed to be a limit to Guden's strength. Once it's used, it can't be used again? Moreover, he was leaving? Does that mean that this person is no longer a threat? No wonder she couldn't tell what level Guden was at. He wasn't a practitioner at all, but had some special properties that allowed him to use unimaginable strength. But Jishan was a careful man. He didn't dare go in and test the waters. He didn't want to make Gooden and Lin Yi his enemy right now. He was used to planning before taking action. Everything had to be told to his father first. Everything had to be discussed before a decision could be made. At that moment, there was a car sound in the villa's yard. Jishan didn't dare stay any longer. He turned and left the villa, disappearing without a trace. Faubert had just come back, and he didn't notice that someone had come to the yard. He was worried about Gooden, and after getting off the car, he rushed into the villa to see him. At this moment, Gooden didn't know that his secret was already known by House Pai. Qibing and Sihua practically ran back to the floating cloud bar. They were both pissed that not only was Lin Yi not dead, but Jin Wudi was killed by one of Lin Yi's lackeys. But through this, Qibing saw how strong Lin Yi was. Even his lackeys were this strong. Qibing decided that he shouldn't mess with Lin Yi for now. Who is Pai Jishan? He was the first heir of the hidden House Pai, and if he could lower his head to Gooden, then what was there to be proud of? He was the rightful head of the house, and he was just a bastard child. Even Jin Wudi was dead in the sect. Lin Yi wouldn't even blink if he killed him. And now, Qibing finally understood why Lin Yi was so fearless. He knew that he was from a hidden house and still dared to kill him. But now that he thought about it, he was really lucky that he didn't die. Was House Xiao stronger than the Golden Bell sect? Even House Xiao didn't dare do anything to them, but Lin Yi and his lackeys had crippled the master and disciple. Call my father. Before we have absolute confidence, don't touch Lin. Let him have his fun for now. Qibing looked at Sihua and sighed. Although he felt wronged when he said this, he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. It didn't matter if he felt wronged or not. He couldn't do anything to Lin. All he could do was endure it. Master Bing, you did the right thing. A man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. There's a saying that goes, 10 years is not too late for a man to take revenge. We'll take care of Lin Yi when the day comes. Sihua nodded. Yao Wang and Uncle Zhu were silent as well. After fighting with Lin Yi for so long, they had to swallow their anger. I don't accept this. We must kill Lin Yi as soon as possible. Although Uncle Zhu's body had recovered quite a bit, it was still a lot more difficult for him to regain his peak strength. If my big brother was here, he wouldn't have let me suffer. I don't know where the family head sent my big brother to carry out his mission. If he had stayed at home, I'm afraid he would have broken through to Earth class already. Uncle Zhu, the head's business isn't something you can talk about. Sihua saw that Uncle Zhu was agitated and quickly reprimanded him. Qibing was here and he was his father after all. Be careful with your words. It's fine. Qibing waved his hand. Uncle Zhu is right. It's not just him, I think the same. But we don't have absolute confidence right now, so we'll let Lin Yi go for now. One day, when we have absolute confidence, it'll be Lin Yi's time to die. Jin Wudi was dead. Normal people wouldn't care about this, but the noble houses and above received the news very quickly. The head of House Wu Gonggao, was one of them. At this moment, he was in the hospital getting in 4 drip when the news came. Patriarch, bad news. Something big has happened. A disciple of the Wu family, who was in charge of gathering information, rushed into the ward in a hurry. Wu Gonggao had just regained his breath when he suddenly heard a disciple report that something big had happened. He was shocked and almost fainted on the sickbed again. Chapter 1379. I'm sorry. The disciple jumped at the sight of Jiaoqi's anger. It's the head of the house who ordered us to inform him immediately if something big happened. Jiaoqi, I said that, don't blame him. Gonggao said weakly. Tell me what happened. What exactly happened? Dad, your heart. Jiaoqi was worried that it was bad news for House Wu, so he tried to stop him. It's fine, I won't die yet. Chen-Tian's too impulsive, and as his grandfather, I have to take responsibility for him. Chen-Tian waved his hand. Jiaoqi sighed. His father was a tyrant, but he was still the head of the house after all these years. He was a bit dissatisfied, but ever since Chen-Tian showed his talent in martial arts, Gonggao had been paying more and more attention to him, spoiling him a little. He'd even suggested Chen-Tian to be the next head of House Wu during the family meetings. At this time, Wu Jiaoqi's heart calmed down. In his generation, he wasn't the only one. He had an elder sister and a younger brother. His elder sister was already married, so she couldn't compete with him. But the most important thing was his younger brother and nephew. These two people were the real threat to him. But now that Chen Tian was confirmed as the next heir, Jiaoqi didn't have to worry about these two anymore. He'd even thought it through. If he didn't become the head of the house, then so be it. With his father's condition, it was possible that the position would be passed on to Chen Tian. What was the point of fighting for it? When Chen Tian became the head of the house, he'd have the same amount of power as the head of the house. However, Wu Jialong's younger brother, spoke up at this moment. His voice was stern, and tears were about to fall from his eyes. "Father, you have to protect your health. You are the pillar of the Wu family. If you collapse, our Wu family will be finished. There's no need to take responsibility for a junior's mistake." "That's right, Grandpa. Bro Chen Tian may have gotten into trouble, but we still have me." The one who spoke was Chen Tian's younger brother, Chindi. He had always been a well-behaved and scheming person, and he didn't understand why his grandpa didn't think highly of him, instead favoring his stupid older brother. All the good things were taken by Chen Tian, and he, Chen Tian, could only be a nobody. What was this? In terms of practice level, he wasn't bad. He was 1 year younger than Chen Tian, and although he broke through to golden class early phase later than Chen Tian, the two were already on the same level. Why didn't Grandpa look at him? Gong Gao looked at Jialong and Chindi calmly. "So you're saying that we should give up on Chen Tian and use House Wu's resources to train you, Chindi?" "Grandpa, that's not what I meant." Chindi felt wronged. "That's what I meant, but why did you say it out loud? Even if I am, I can't admit it in front of so many people." "Since that's not the case, then what else is there to say?" Gong Gao interrupted Chindi and turned to the informant. "Speak, what happened?" "Leader, Jin Wudi is dead." The disciple looked at the Wu family's internal strife and was a little careful. "What did you say? Jin Wudi is dead? How did he die?" Gong Gao's eyes froze as he sat up from the bed, his eyes regaining their sharpness as he stared at the disciple. "Master Tian's new boss killed him with one punch, instant kill." The disciple said. "Chen Tian's boss killed him? Or was it an instant kill?" Wu Gonggao jumped up from the bed. The infusion tube in his hand had been torn apart, but he didn't know it at all. "Is what you said true? Jin Wudi was killed by that Air Gooden?" "Yes, Patriarch, I dare not hide it. After this matter happened, I immediately came to report it to Patriarch." The disciple said. "Ha!" Gong Gao started laughing, his laughter shaking the skies. "That's great. The heavens have blessed us, House Wu. Waha, that Chen Tian kid has good eyes. He actually got a boss like this. Looks like House Wu has hope." At this time, other than Wu Gonggao, the happiest person was probably Wu Jiaoqi. Previously, he was still trembling with fear because of his son's matter, fearing that his younger brother and nephew would join forces to seize the position of the family head. But now, it seemed that the dark clouds had passed and the rainbow could be seen. "It's all thanks to your teachings, Father. This Chen Tian is lucky he doesn't have that many schemes, but it's easier for people to accept him this way." Jiaoqi was mocking Jialong and Chindi, saying that they were scheming. What was the use of being smart? They weren't even as good as a random boss Chen Tian had chosen. Wu Jialong and Chindi's faces were very ugly. They had planned to use this chance to persuade Gong Gao to bring Chen Tian back and let Chen Tian reflect on himself, replacing him with Chindi. But now, it was all for naught. "Grandpa, this is actually a blessing in disguise. Hidden houses have sky-class masters. Who knows if House Pai will come back for revenge? Let's not drag House Wu down with us." Chindi reminded. "Don't think I don't know what you're thinking." Gong Gao kicked Chindi. "Scram, get out, I don't want to see you." Chindi was kicked away, his heart filled with sadness. He was only 1 year older than Chen Tian, and their training speed was about the same, so why did he have to like Chen Tian so much? Hatred flashed in Jialong's eyes as well. He didn't know why Gong Gao didn't like him and his son. It had been like this since they were young, and it was still like this now. It didn't matter if his talent was bad, but Chindi's talent was good. Jialong brought Chindi out of the room quickly, not daring to go against the old man at a time like this. After Jialong left, Gong Gao's face calmed down. He turned to Jiaoqi. Call Chen Tian immediately and ask about the situation. Chapter 1380. Chen Tian had taken over Gooden's position these days, sitting at the entrance of the villa's living room, eating and sleeping here, becoming another door god. Gooden breathed a sigh of relief as he saw this. He was a calculative man, and this was a test for Chen Tian. If he really did his job well, then he wouldn't mind recommending him to Lin Yi when he came back. Chen Tian didn't mention a word about Gooden's injury to Gong Gao and Jiaoqi. He wasn't a calculative person, but he knew that his boss wanted him to keep it a secret, and it had to be something important. He couldn't just talk about it. Chu Villa, other than having Chen Tian as Meng Yao and Yushu's bodyguard, there wasn't much of a change. Zhang Wen, on the other hand, knew that Gooden had killed Jin Wudi, but he wasn't afraid of anything. He was always in the dark, so he wasn't worried that Gooden would come to him. However, Gooden's identity pissed him off even more. Fuck, this Gooden is Lin Yi's follower. Zhang Wen's face darkened after seeing the news, raging. Lin Yi has a close relationship with that Lingshan bitch, so it's most likely that Lin Yi is the one who snitched it out. The news came from that Gooden. Calm down, young Master Wen. Killing Jin Wudi isn't a big deal. My biochemical experiments are in the late stages, and in time, I'll be able to develop a great strength pill. If a normal person eats it, they'll be able to punch armored vehicles and kick UFOs. The professor said faintly, plus, this time, other than getting money, our plan is to screw Lin Yi over, right? Even if Lin Yi and Lingshan are close, Lingshan won't be able to protect Lin Yi in front of the evidence. If she dares to do anything, then we'll ruin her name as well. With Lingshan gone, it'll be easier for us to get money in Songshan. Yeah, you're right. Is the test subject here yet? Zhang Wen nodded. It's already here. I'm currently doing the last bit of stimulation on him. The Firewolf Gang's best plastic surgeon and hypnotist are also working hard to ensure that there won't be any mistakes. The professor said. Before this, his status was equal to Zhang Wen. One could even say that he came here to do some experiments under the orders of the Firewolves. Helping Zhang Wen was secondary. But now, with Zhang Wen earning more and more money for the Firewolves, Zhang Wen's position was rising as well. Every single idea he came up with was one of those profit-making businesses that didn't require any capital. Even the leader of the Firewolves branch was looking up to him. And so, the professor became Zhang Wen's follower. He had to listen to Zhang Wen's orders. Very good. Zhang Wen nodded. Let's see how arrogant Lin Yi can be then. Lin Yi, who was sitting at the entrance of the underground palace, couldn't help but sneeze. It was already the second day, and Xiaoka and Old Hay still hadn't found any secrets in the stone pillars. After a few detailed checks, they confirmed that there weren't any mechanisms or buttons on the pillars. In other words, every pillar was the same. From the outside, there wasn't any difference. Damn it. Xiaoka slammed her palm on the pillar. This was the 100th time she checked the pillars, but she still couldn't find anything. It annoyed her. Dong. The stone pillar made a crisp sound under Xiaoka's attack. Empty? Xiaoka paused. Old Hay, Lingshan, and Yutian turned to look at Xiaoka. They all copied Xiaoka's actions and started hitting the pillars in front of them. Each pillar made a crisp sound, but the sound was different. They're all empty. Is there some secret in the pillars? Should we open one and see? Old Hay suggested. Xiaoka frowned and pointed at the top of the pillar. The entire palace is supported by these pillars. Breaking one wouldn't guarantee the safety of this place. Then what do you mean, Miss Flying Sparrow? Old Hay asked. Let me think about it. Xiaoka patted the pillar in front of her and the other pillars nearby. Suddenly, a look of joy flashed across Xiaoka's face as if she'd found a clue. Everyone move aside and let us have the pillars. Old Hay, Lingshan, and Yutian obeyed and left the pillar. Xiaoka knocked on every pillar in the palace, and after listening to the sounds, she stood in the middle of the palace and pondered for a while. Then she started knocking on different pillars in a seemingly random pattern. Old Hay, Lingshan, Yutian, and even Elder Yu were all confused. What are you doing? Elder Yu couldn't help but ask. As far as he was concerned, this Xiaoka was just running around for no reason. Don't disturb her. Lin Yi stopped Elder Yu. If I'm not wrong, There's a total of 7 pillars in this palace, and each pillar represents a musical scale. The flying sparrow must have found the connection between the scales. Perhaps it's the elegy on the wall. That's right. The notes that you... Miss Flying Sparrow struck out. Although the tempo was a bit off, the notes matched the melody of the elegy on the painting on the stone wall perfectly. Lingshan knew a thing or two about music, and with Lin Yi's reminder, she was able to see the connection between the two easily. Elder Yu nodded, and Old Hei's eyes flashed with shock. It seemed that this tomb wasn't as simple as it seemed. The flying sparrow wasn't hired for nothing. The distance between the pillars was huge, and even with Xiaoka's qinggong, it still took her more than half an hour to complete the song. Fo! After hitting the last note, Xiaoka finally breathed out in relief. The designer was too much of a scammer, wasn't he? If it were a grave robber with poor stamina, they'd probably die from exhaustion. But then again, grave robbers with poor stamina wouldn't be able to do this. Watch out! Lin Yi suddenly yelled, and the entire floor of the palace started shaking. Lin Yi had called out to be careful because the jade had suddenly given him a warning, and he'd called out subconsciously. But his warning was pointless. It had only been a few seconds since the ground started shaking and cracking, and no one had time to react. The floor of the hall split into two, with the center of the hall as the horizontal line. One on each side was collapsing rapidly, tilting towards the sides. Chapter 1381. In just a few seconds, the ground between the two palaces became vertical, and the people on the ground, due to gravity, all fell down rapidly. The stone pillars in the hall were still hanging vertically on the ceiling of the hall. It was only at this moment that the crowd realized that these stone pillars were not used to support the weight of the hall, but to activate the mechanism. Lin Yi Yutian, Lingshan, Old Hei, Elder Yu, and General Wei Wu were on one side of the ground, while Xiaoka was on the other side. But, although Lin Yi's warning was a little late, the group wasn't weak. At the last moment, they managed to grab onto the edge of the ground. The ground was vertical, but there was still some friction between the two sides, and they were all hanging on the edge. Lin Yi looked at Xiaoka, realizing that she was prepared as well, using her eagle claws to hang on the edge of the ground. Lin Yi let out a breath of relief. Old Hei was the only one who didn't have any kung fu. He saw that everyone had reacted, but he couldn't do anything. The ground was vertical and he fell straight down. But, help! Old Hei cried. Lingshan frowned, subconsciously wanting to let go and jump down to save Old Hei. Her goal this time was to catch these grave robbers, and now that a few of them were dead, there was only Old Hei left. If Old Hei died too, then what was the point of this mission? But Lin Yi knew what Lingshan was thinking. He wouldn't let her take the risk. I'll go. With that, he let go and jumped down, reaching out to grab Old Hei. He then stepped on the stone wall beside him, returning to the edge of the ground. The entire movement was done in one smooth motion, without a trace of sloppiness. This was an easy thing for Lin Yi, but Lingshan didn't have enough experience, and Lin Yi was afraid that something would happen to her. Old Hei almost came back from the death. His gratitude towards the male thief was like a raging river. He took out the eagle claw hook and mimicked Xiaoka, hanging it on the edge of the ground. Thank you, male thief. Old Hei said, still fearful. You're still useful. Everyone's a part of their intelligence, and at this point, we need to preserve our strength. Lin Yi said faintly. In fact, if it weren't for Lingshan, Lin Yi wouldn't care about Old Hei's life. What's going on? Why is it so dark and deep down, like a bottomless pit? Elder Yu frowned. Did they activate some sort of death trap? Lin Yi was hesitated. He couldn't tell if this was the right entrance to the palace, but evidently, the person who built this place wouldn't have used this method to get to the palace. If a normal person fell down, they wouldn't be able to survive. Plus, Lin Yi could clearly feel a dangerous aura down there. The jade's warning hadn't stopped. Otherwise, according to the usual situation, he would already be hanging on the edge of the ground, and he could jump up and return to the previous tunnel. There shouldn't be any danger, so the only danger would come from the bottomless pit under his feet. This might be the entrance to the palace. Old Hei said after a sigh. This place does look like the legendary Tomb of Death. Tomb of Death? Elder Yu paused. What do you mean? Tomb of Death, it's the type of tomb that you can only enter but not get out, When it was designed, there wasn't an exit. This tomb was built from the outside to the inside. Once you go in, you won't be able to get out, you'll have to stay with the tomb forever. Old Hay explained. At that point, cold sweat started forming on Old Hay's forehead. If that was the case, then he'd really lose his life this time. Then what do we do? Doesn't that mean we won't be able to get out after we go in? Elder Yumft. I don't know either. This is something from the legends. It's my first time seeing an entrance like this. Old Hay smiled bitterly. At that moment, the stopped mechanism seemed to be activated again. The two parts of the ground that were perpendicular to the ground suddenly rose up again, as if they were going to merge back together. Not good, the mechanism's coming back up, Linny said. Do we go down or not? Linny had made up his mind. Even if these people didn't go down, he would go down. Even if it was the death tomb, he had to go down. Even if he couldn't get out, as long as he got the medical notes and had General Wei Wu by his side, he would blast his way out even if he had to use a pure energy bomb. That. Elder Yu and Old Hay were hesitating. Lingshan and Yutian, on the other hand, were waiting for Lin Yi's decision. If Linny wanted to go down, then they'd do it. This place is the tomb of death, but if we go down, we should be able to get out, Xiaoka said. Only the place where the coffin is kept is a dead end, and we can't get out. The other places should be fine. Are you sure? Old Hay paused. I'm pretty sure. First, Zhang Liju is a healer, and a healer has a kind heart. Even if he's about to die, he wouldn't be so evil as to let his workers die with him. Xiaoka analyzed. Second, if it really is a dead end, and we can't get out, then what's the point of having a spirit beast guarding the door? Wouldn't that be unnecessary? You're right. Old Hay nodded. He was an experienced grave robber, and so he understood after hearing Xiaoka's words. All right, let's go down. Flying Sparrow, when the ground is about to close up, let go. That way, you'll be closer to me, and it'll be safer if we go down together. Lin Yi said to Xiaoka. All right. Xiaoka agreed without hesitation. She knew how dangerous it was down there, and Lin Yi treated her a little special. No matter what, Lin Yi couldn't harm her. This time, Elder Yu and Old Hay didn't think that Lin Yi was being too concerned about Xiaoka. Since Lin Yi could even save Old Hay, it wasn't strange for him to care about Xiaoka's safety. Chapter 1382. Lin Yi had General Wei Wu, Xiaoka, Lingshan, and Yuten. 3 people and a dog was already hard enough. He couldn't bring Old Hay along. Elder Yu didn't want to bring people, but thinking of the danger, he grabbed Old Hay unwillingly. Jump! When the two sides were about to connect, Lin yelled and grabbed Xiaoka. Yutian and Lingshan grabbed Lin Yi on both sides, and they started descending rapidly. The abyss was so deep that they couldn't see the bottom. With the light from the palace, even practitioners with amazing eyesight could only see a few hundred meters down, and it wasn't the bottom. One could imagine how deep this place was. Don't hug me so tight, I can't breathe. Elder Yu wasn't happy with Old Hay hugging him so tightly. You're not a beauty, why are you hugging me so tight? Sorry, I'm a bit scared. Old Hay said awkwardly. I'll let go when we get down, Elder Yu humphed, but his eyes didn't even blink as he watched Lin Yi's movements. But as they got deeper and deeper, the light got dimmer and dimmer, and Elder Yu couldn't see Lin Yi's movements anymore. Male thief, what's down there? Is it dangerous? Elder Yu couldn't see Lin Yi at all, so he asked worriedly. Lin Yi couldn't see what was beneath him, but he closed his eyes and entered the jade space. He used his divine sense to sense what was going on around him, and everything around him became clear to him. It was a square tunnel, and the 4 sides were smooth stone walls. There was no place to step on, and unless you wore shoes with high resistance, you might be able to stick to the wall. Even if you stuck to the wall temporarily, you'd fall off. Even though it was bright as day, Lin Yi still couldn't see what was down there. It was still a bottomless abyss. I don't know, you're an Earth class, and you're always afraid of this and that. What are you doing out here? It's safest to cultivate at home, Lin Yi said mockingly. Ignorant brat, my life is 10,000 times more important than you. It doesn't matter if you die, but I'm like porcelain. Do you understand? Elder Yu blushed at Lin Yi's words, but he still defended himself. Heh. Lin Yi smiled sarcastically and didn't say anything else. Xiaoka had been hugged by Lin Yi before, but it was an emergency and he put her down after a while. She hadn't been hugged this tightly before, and now that she was leaning against Lin Yi's broad chest and smelling Lin Yi's manly scent, Xiaoka felt her heart palpitate and her face blushed. She'd never been this close to a boy in her entire life, and she'd never even thought about romantic love. She'd only cared about the orphanage ever since she could remember, and she'd never even thought about romantic love. Who would want to marry a burden like her? Unless her head was broken. Big families wouldn't be interested in a female cat burglar like her, and those without money wouldn't be able to support a large orphanage. As a result, Xiaoka put this aside for now, and kept her chastity. If the orphanage really needed her, even if she didn't find a rich boyfriend, she could still sell her virginity for a good price, right? As long as it could help the orphanage, it would be fine. However, the male thief in front of her did make her heart flutter a little. Ever since she was young, other than her master, no one had ever cared about her like this, and no man had ever done this to her. Especially some of the missions from the Steel sect, they were all life-threatening. Even if Xiaoka was as pretty as a goddess, no one would go easy on her. This was all about profit, and with money, it wasn't easy to find beauties. Why would he want to find her? And so, every time Xiaoka went on a mission with the Steel sect people, she had to be on the lookout for being framed. There was no love between them at all. The male thief, on the other hand, was different. Whenever she was in danger or trouble, he would always stand up for her. She didn't know if the male thief really wanted her beauty like old Hay had said, but no matter what, she felt a ripple in her heart. She had a good impression of the male thief. Most importantly, she felt that the male thief gave her a very familiar feeling, as if she'd seen him somewhere before, but she couldn't remember who. Could this male thief be her Prince Charming? Xiaoka started to think about random things in this tense situation, but when she thought about the female thief beside Lin Yi, she felt a little discouraged. He already had a partner, so he probably wouldn't be able to marry her. Of course, that wasn't what Xiaoka cared about the most. What she cared about was whether or not the male thief was willing to help the orphanage. If he couldn't, then there was no point in talking about anything else. Lin Yi didn't know that Xiaoka had so many weird thoughts popping out of her head. If he knew, he'd probably throw Xiaoka out right away. After about half an hour, everyone was still falling at a high speed. This was enough to show how bottomless this underground palace was. Even after such a long time, they still hadn't reached the bottom. No one knew how the people in the past built this place. Elder Yu was a little impatient and worried. Male thief, we won't just fall into the center, will we? Oh, then you can make a TV show when you get back. Lin Yi said, annoyed. This Elder Yu's strength didn't match his guts. He was as cowardly as a mouse, afraid of death. He didn't look like an Earth class at all. Of course, if Jin Wudi, who was already dead, heard this, he'd probably start crying. It was because he wasn't afraid of death that he really died. I think there's something wrong with this tomb. Elder Yu humphed and didn't say anything else. After a while, Lin Yi finally saw the bottom. It was so deep that he couldn't see the bottom. But relatively speaking, this tunnel did have a bottom. At the bottom of the tunnel, there were many sharp weapons, like a large nail board, the sharp end pointing upwards. If you didn't have any protection, you'd probably be pierced through if you fell down. If it was a normal person, they'd die, but Elder Yu was an Earth class, after all. He was strong, and at most he'd be injured, but it wasn't life-threatening. Chapter 1383. The tunnel wasn't straight, but it was in N's shape. Perhaps it was for convenience, but Lin Yi didn't see any use for it. All the tunnels in the tomb were like this, going up, down, left, right, and so on. The ground above them was completely sealed, and this caused the tunnel to be extremely dark. There wasn't a single trace of light. There were only a few dozen meters left before they reached the bottom, and Lin Yi didn't warn Elder Yu. Instead, he looked for a way out. Below them was a wall of sharp weapons, but to the left was an empty tunnel. With the right timing, Lin Yi would be able to jump over it. 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters. Lin Yi abruptly stepped on the wall on his right and pushed off, bringing Xiaoka and the others flying out. As he flew, he yelled, "Careful!" A second later, Lin Yi and the others landed safely, and there was a poochie sound, followed by Elder Yu's cry of pain. "Elder Yu, what's wrong?" You didn't get tricked, did you? I warned you as soon as I noticed something was wrong. You're not that unlucky, are you? Lin Yi pretended to be concerned. Male thief, why didn't you warn me earlier? Did you do it on purpose? Elder Yu was in so much pain. Many parts of his body were pierced by the nail boards. Old He, on the other hand, was fine. He was hugging Elder Yu's chest like an octopus, and now that he heard there was danger, he hugged Elder Yu even tighter. Xiaoke took out a flashlight and shone it in the direction of the sound. She realized that Elder Yu was in a horse-riding position. His feet were pierced by sharp weapons, and his crotch was also pierced by a sharp weapon. It was a patch of blood. Your balls are hurting. Lin Yi looked at Elder Yu. Good job, let's see how you fight me later. Male thief, you did it on purpose, didn't you? Elder Yu looked at Lin Yi's gloating face and got pissed. He flew over, his feet and crotch covered in blood. You can think whatever you want. Since I can sense danger, why can't you? I've already reminded you. What does it have to do with me if you get hurt again? Lin Yi said faintly, besides, you're already so old. It's useless for you to have that thing. It doesn't matter if it's pricked. How do you know I'm useless? Elder Yu glared angrily. I've never had children in my life, and I was planning to get married and have kids the day I broke through Sky Class. You won't be able to break through. Don't worry, Lin Yi comforted. Elder Yu realized that he might as well not talk to Lin Yi. Talking to him would only piss him off. Old He laughed dryly as he got down from Elder Yu's body. That was close, but Elder Yu had to suffer for him. Both his legs and balls were injured, but Elder Yu was an Earth class. Naturally, it wouldn't be a big deal. It was just a bit of pain and anger. This was another long hallway, but they didn't have the searchlights anymore. The searchlights from before had already fallen down when the floor tilted, and they'd been smashed into smithereens. All that was left was the torchlight that everyone brought with them. Elder Yu was regretting it a little. He should have shown the torchlight below him, and he wouldn't have ended up like this. But he wasn't experienced enough. It was still Lin Yi, Xiaoke, Lingshan, Yutian, and Wei Wu walking in front, with Elder Yu and Old He trailing behind. Elder Yu's legs were injured, and he was limping, but his speed wasn't slow. This should be the main part of the tomb. Xiaoke said suddenly. Oh! Old He and Elder Yu saw it as well. Not far from the hallway, there were some displays. There were bookshelves, display racks, and boxes. We're finally here. A smile appeared on Elder Yu's face, and his legs and crotch weren't hurting as much anymore. He took a few steps forward, ready to find what he was looking for. But when he got in front of the displays, he stopped and turned to Old He. Go open these chests for me, let me see what's inside. It seemed like Elder Yu was afraid of ropes after being bitten by a snake. He didn't dare act rashly anymore. Old He smiled bitterly, not daring to disobey. He walked over carefully to one of the chests, looking around for a long time, his face a little conflicted. What are you waiting for? Elder Yu barked impatiently. Elder Yu, forgive me for being blunt, but these things are at the edge of the palace, and I don't think they're anything good. They're used to get rid of low-level grave robbers. Old He was speaking the truth. Things that were placed in the open usually weren't that valuable. I told you to open it, so open it. What are you waiting for? Elder Yu humphed, not understanding this. Flying Sparrow, why don't you open the chests, and all the things in here belong to you? Old He didn't dare open the chests, and there was one thing he didn't say. These benefits on the surface were mostly for fools. Once you opened it, danger would follow. No way, I don't give my things to anyone. Elder Yu said after hearing Old He's words. Old He felt a little annoyed, thinking that if you didn't save his life, he'd call you an idiot. What you want is so valuable, why would you put it in the open? Did you think the grave robbers were idiots? Then you open it, it's all yours. Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at Elder Yu. Elder Yu was losing to Lin Yi, and Lin Yi was making him blush. Isn't it just a chest? Lin Yi walked over and opened the chest casually. When Lin Yi opened the chest, the jade didn't warn him, so Lin Yi wasn't worried about trouble. The chest was opened, and there was a neat box of gold ingot inside. Other than that, there wasn't anything else. Old He and Elder Yu looked at each other, not showing much interest. Elder Yu's goal this time was these three things, And whether it was the common house you or the hidden house you, they didn't lack money, so this box of gold ingot wasn't worth much. Chapter 1384. Seeing that Lin Yi didn't find anything wrong with the chest, Elder Yu gathered his courage and walked over, quickly opening the other chests. Other than gold and silver, there was nothing else. Elder Yu was a little disappointed. "You're right, let's go look at the display rack." "These things?" Xiaoke looked greedily at the treasures in the chests and pointed at them. "Flying sparrow, if you like it, I'll give it all to you." Old He, naturally, didn't care about these things. He might as well be a good person and give them to Xiaoke so she could work harder. "Really?" Xiaoke paused and was overjoyed. She took out a bag and prepared to take all the gold back. To Xiaoke, these antiques weren't as practical as the gold. It was easy to get rid of and it was money. Plus, with Xiaoke's personality, she'd rather die from exhaustion than give up on money. Lin Yi's mouth twitched. This Xiaoke was really greedy. These things were heavy, and it was hard to move around with them. But thinking about it, even if there was something good, Xiaoke wouldn't be able to snatch it. It was better to take something that others didn't want. Xiaoke started putting the gold ingot into her bag, her smile almost reaching her ears. This gold was enough to support the orphanage for a long time. How could Xiaoke not be excited? Xiaoke finished one chest and went to another, but when her hand touched the gold bar in the chest, Lin Yi's jade emitted a warning signal. Above the originally empty passageway, a huge rock had appeared out of nowhere. It appeared above Xiaoke silently, and when Xiaoke touched the gold bar, the rock in the sky made a cracking sound and fell down abruptly. The target was Xiaoke's head. "Careful!" Lin Yi yelled, and Xiaoke heard something above her head as well. She looked up subconsciously and saw a giant rock falling down just like that. Xiaoke was scared out of her wits. She didn't want to accept this. She was about to get so much gold, and the orphanage would have a place to live. That was such a wonderful thing, but why was she going to die here? She was so unlucky. Speaking of which, Xiaoke was a smart thief, and her actions in the tomb proved that, but this time, she was blinded by the money. Plus, when she took the first chest of gold ingot, she was actually on guard, but nothing happened, so she let her guard down. She saw Elder Yu and Old He walk to the display cabinet far away, and Lin Yi and the others were still waiting for her. She was a little anxious, and that was why she made such a huge mistake. Lin Yi saw that Xiaoke was staring at the rock like a fool and didn't know how to dodge. He quickly ran to Xiaoke and carried her, running to the side and barely dodging the rock. There was a loud crash, and the rock smashed into the place where the treasure chests were, sinking a few chests into the ground. One could see how strong the rock was, and if it hit a person, they'd be dead for sure. "My gold!" Xiaoke turned around and saw that her bag was smashed under the boulder as well. She felt a little heartache. All that money was gone. Seeing Xiaoke's greedy behavior, Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She almost lost her life, and she was still worried about gold? This person couldn't be that greedy, could she? Lin Yi subconsciously pinched Xiaoke. "You almost died and you still want money? Xiaoke, can you not be so greedy? You're so weak and you still want to come out and embarrass yourself. I can save you once, but can I save you 100 times? Dash, Xiaoke yelped when Lin Yi pinched her, because Lin Yi's hand was on her chest. So, she didn't hear what Lin Yi said, and was embarrassed. Your hand, what's wrong with my hand? Lin Yi was stunned, and he didn't react. Lin Yi was still angry, and he didn't notice where his hand was. Hearing Xiaoke's words, Lin Yi moved his hand subconsciously. Your hand? You're still pinching. Xiaoke was about to explode, and she jumped down from Lin Yi. You're taking advantage of me. Lin Yi was stunned, and he looked at his hand, thinking back to the feeling before. It seemed like he was touching Xiaoke's chest. Damn it, don't be so miserable, right? It wasn't easy for him to act like a hooligan, and he didn't even realize it, and he let go without feeling anything. I didn't notice in the rush. Lin Yi was a little embarrassed, but he was telling the truth. Lin Yi really didn't notice these small details before, and in order to save Xiaoke, he didn't care if his hand touched Xiaoke's chest or not. Oh! Xiaoke wasn't stupid. Thinking back to the situation, she knew that Lin Yi didn't do it on purpose, but being taken advantage of for no reason made her feel like she was at a disadvantage. "Thank you. All right, let's go," Lin Yi said faintly, and he turned around, following Elder Yu and Old He. Lin Yi's goal was Zhang Liju's medical notes, and he couldn't let Elder Yu take it away. Oh. Xiaoke looked at the boulder, unwilling to leave. She knew that she couldn't get it back anymore, and she sighed before following Lin. Yutian followed as well, not saying much. What happened between Lin Yi and Xiaoke didn't concern him much. Lingshan, on the other hand, frowned, feeling that Lin Yi was flirting with a female thief. She didn't like it. In front of them, Elder Yu and Old He were studying the items in the cabinets. They were all antiques, and every single one of them wasn't ordinary, and they were worth a lot of money. Of course, this was relative. These things weren't worth much in the past, and that was why they were placed on the outskirts. But time had changed, and these were all real antiques now. Their value was naturally different. Xiaoke pursed her lips and didn't say anything. She was still feeling dizzy. Did she get MO just like that? Looking at Lin Yi's back, Xiaoke's eyes flashed with a complicated expression. Right, what did he call her? Xiaoke? Chapter 1385. Could it be that he knew her? Did he know her real name? One had to know that Xiaoke's name had never been made public in the thieves' sect. She'd always used the Flying Sparrow hero, so how did he know her name? She'd felt a sense of familiarity when she looked at him. Was he a friend she knew in real life? But did he really call her Xiaoke? Xiaoke wasn't too sure. Could it have been a hallucination when she was so shy? But the male thief didn't call her that. Xiaoke didn't know what was going on. What are you doing? You're walking all over the place. Are you pretending to be a crab? Lingshan was already pissed off, and seeing Xiaoke walking all over the place, she got even angrier. Walk 2 steps faster, or the man's going to come back to save you. Oh. Xiaoke looked at Lingshan, feeling wronged. It's your man who's acting like a pervert, all right? Why was she blaming her now? Naturally, Xiaoke assumed that Lingshan was pissed off because she and Lin Yi were in a relationship, and being seen by the female thief was pissed off. But one had to admit that Xiaoke's guess was pretty reliable. She was almost killed. She's still in shock. Carry her if you think she's slow. Lin Yi frowned as he turned back to look at Lingshan. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't think too much about it. He thought that Lingshan was pissed off because she was a female thief and wanted to punish her. Lingshan bit her lips. She was about to explode. Why was she treating a female thief better than her? Am I that hard to move your heart? She was a bit of an idiot before, but she wasn't anymore. She was much calmer and more mature now, no longer the hothead she used to be. Was she still not as good as a female thief? Xiaoke opened her mouth, stunned. She looked at Lingshan's chest heaving up and down, and couldn't help but sigh. Why did it seem like the male thief wasn't treating her well? Could it be that he was getting tired of the old, and was interested in her? With that thought, Xiaoke started to feel conflicted. Did this mean that she had a chance to kill the female thief and become one? But it seemed that if the male thief liked the new and got tired of the old, what if he replaced her after a while? What would happen to the orphanage if she became a withered flower and lost her capital? No, I have to think about it carefully. Although I have a good impression of the male thief, this is related to my life and the future of the orphanage. I can't act rashly. Xiaoke quickened her steps and followed, giving Lingshan an apologetic look. Lingshan didn't know what to do with Xiaoke. With Lin Yi here, there was no way she could bring her back. Whatever, she was here to catch the grave robber. She didn't want to cause more trouble. She was here to catch the grave robber. With Xiaoke as an example, Old He and Elder Yu didn't say anything, but the two of them became much more careful. They only looked at the antiques and utensils in the racks casually, keeping their eyes and ears open to all directions, paying attention to any incoming danger at all times. These are all normal utensils. Old He said faintly after looking. These were antiques, but they weren't worth much. They were the same as the pile of treasures in front of the door, just to fool people. They weren't made from famous official kills, and they belonged to the market. They were worth a few thousand to tens of thousands of kwai, and the most expensive one was only 100,000 or 200,000. Old He didn't care about that. If Old He didn't care about it, naturally Elder Yu wouldn't care either. Plus, Elder Yu was here for treasures, not money. His attention was on the chi-gathering pill and the medical notes, as well as the notes of the legendary refiner. Evidently, something as important as this should be kept in the vault or library, or even in the main tomb. There was no way something as precious as this could be placed in a long hallway outside the tomb. Even so, Elder Yu still checked the utensils one by one, wanting to see if there was anything hidden inside. "There's nothing I want. You guys can take it if you want," Elder Yu said faintly. Lin Yi walked over and looked at them one by one before leaving. Xiaoke was still in shock from what happened. She wanted to take a few utensils, but she was afraid that the rock would appear again. She shook her head and left with Lin Yi. Ling Shan and Yu Tian weren't here to rob tombs, so it didn't matter if the things here were valuable or not. The group continued walking, and on the left and right side of the hallway, there were still treasure chests and display cabinets, but they all left after a few glances. Xiaoke, on the other hand, didn't dare to be greedy, and only took a few gold ingots from each chest. She didn't want to be greedy, and she still paid attention to the surroundings to see if there was any danger. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xiaoke wasn't as greedy as before, but she was still greedy. Lin Yi had to help her predict danger when she took the gold ingot. What was this? Not far away, the group saw a bookshelf, and Elder Yu ran over quickly. He was only interested in books and pills, nothing else mattered to him. This was the first bookshelf he saw. Naturally, he wouldn't let it go so easily. Lin Yi, on the other hand, followed quickly. Elder Yu wouldn't let these things go, and neither would he. The reason why Lin Yi kept using opportunities to trick Elder Yu was so that he could have an easier time in the fight. Elder Yu wasn't too happy with Lin Yi's actions, but he couldn't do anything about it. Lin Yi knew medicine, and so he could tell what the books on the bookshelf were. These were all medical books, but they weren't the only ones or the lost ones. These were all normal medical books and pharmacopoeias, and the bookstores in the market had copies of these books, so it wasn't strange at all. However, the real purpose of this bookshelf might be to confuse those little thieves who came in to steal. They didn't know that medical books were unique. The real value of these books was not the content inside, but the book itself. Ancient books were also a kind of antique. They could be collected by scholars or gifts to friends. Each book was worth a lot. Chapter 1386. Seeing that Lin Yi was already far away, Elder Yu pulled his eyes back unwillingly and followed. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was a careful man. Since Lin Yi was sure that there was nothing left, there was no point in looking. Plus, he didn't know much about antiques, and he felt that the male thief should be more professional than he was. There's a stone door in front, and after opening it, it should be the path to the main tomb, but there might be danger in there. Old Hay shone his flashlight not far away. These things at the door are obviously prepared for normal tomb robbers. Prepared my ass, it's for the dead, right? Lin Yi said faintly. The flying sparrow was almost smashed to death. Plus, the entrance to the tomb can only go down, not up. Normal tomb robbers wouldn't be able to get out after taking these things. Old Hay paused but nodded. Lin Yi's words made sense. The tomb robbers that could come here weren't simple people. How could there be any normal tomb robbers here? These things at the door were just triggers for the mechanism, and they weren't very valuable. Even if they were broken, it wouldn't be a waste. The stone door is the same as before, it's still a password lock, but my tools are all broken. It'll be very hard to open this door. Old Hay looked at the door. Elder Yu, do you have any good ideas? What good ideas can I have? Elder Yu said. I don't know about these things. You came here, and you're just a piece of trash. You still want this and that? Lin Yi said faintly. If I'm not wrong, the password for this door should be the same as the one before. Tomb robbers who can come here are all masters, and it's only a matter of time for them to crack a mechanism like this. Even if they don't have the equipment, they can solve it with patience, so the designer wouldn't spend too much effort on this. What Lin Yi said was actually what Wujia's data. As far as he was concerned, if there was a password in the tomb, then the password should be the same. Blackie paused. I'll try. Blackie was the one who cracked the password, so he had a deep impression of it. He moved the roulette on the stone door according to the previous set of numbers. Soon, there was a crisp click, and the stone door opened. Blackie looked at Lin Yi with admiration. You're really experienced. Let's not talk too much. Everyone be careful. There might be more traps here. Lin Yi glanced at the corridor behind the stone door and said. For some reason, Lin Yi kept feeling that there was a faintly discernible dangerous aura inside, but the jade pendant didn't give him any warning. In other words, this dangerous aura wouldn't be dangerous if he didn't do anything, but if he triggered some major mechanism, there might be great danger. Lin Yi's words made Elder Yu, who was about to walk in first, retract his feet immediately. He looked at the group warily. You guys go first. Lin Yi didn't even bother looking down on Elder Yu's cowardice. He'd never seen a practitioner so afraid of death. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't mind. He walked straight in, noticing that the hallway was different from before. There weren't any treasure chests or cabinets on either side of the hallway. Instead, there were doors on both sides of the stone walls at regular intervals. This is the main tomb. The rooms on both sides should be the funerary collection rooms and so on. The owner of this tomb was obviously a scholar, so the tomb was very practical. A few collection rooms should be enough for the owner of the tomb to rest in peace after his death. There's no need for the extravagance of an emperor's tomb. Old Hay said to Elder Yu as they walked. The things we want should be in these rooms. All right, let's open it. Elder Yu nodded and pointed at the first room. The stone doors here didn't have a password and could be opened directly. But Elder Yu didn't want anything unexpected to happen, and naturally, he wouldn't open the door himself. Old Black gloomily opened the stone door. Nothing strange happened, which made everyone breathe a sigh of relief. The room was huge, but there weren't many things inside. There was only one shelf with some bronze and porcelain items. However, the things inside made Old Hay and Xiaoka's eyes light up. Lao He quickly ran over and looked at the items on the shelves. His face was filled with greed and shock. In the eyes of a discerning person like Lao He, he could determine the value of these items at a glance. Each one of them was a priceless treasure. This bronze cauldron should be from the spring and autumn period. Old Hay looked at the cauldron on the shelf. Also, it should be a royal item. There's a mark here. I only want money. Xiaoka looked at the things on the shelf. They were all rare treasures, but to her, they were useless. You're not taking any of these? Old Hay frowned. There were too many things here, and he couldn't take too much by himself. Now that they were in the tomb, he didn't know how to get out. Not only would it be hard for him to move around, but the porcelain items would break easily. It was a classic case of biting off more than he could chew. So, Old Hay only wanted to take a few things that were easy to carry. That cauldron was an antique with a sky-high price. If he did it right, it could easily sell for over 100 million in an auction. I can't get rid of it even if I take it. Xiaoka shrugged. All right, I'll give you the 10% I promised you. Old Hay sighed and decided not to go back on his words. The male thief wasn't a good person, and Xiaoka had been very useful along the way, so he'd rather give her 10% of the profits. The problem was, how were they going to get out of the tomb now? It was obviously unrealistic to go back the way they came. Not to mention that the ground above had merged. Even if it hadn't, it would still be difficult to climb up. The entire passage was a huge S shape, and the stone walls were smooth enough to be used as a slide. When they fell, they didn't feel any obstruction when they bumped into the stone walls. It could be said that this kind of place was easy to go down, but difficult to climb up, unless they had something like a suction cup. But this roundabout route, if they didn't rely on gravity to slide down naturally, how long would it take to climb up? Chapter 1387. Just these few items alone could bring him an income of over 100 million. This trip was already worth it. Lin Yi took a look and saw that Old Hay only took some flashy stuff. They were good for collecting, but they weren't really useful. He wasn't a medical person. I'm done. What about you guys? You guys don't want anything? Old Hay turned to Lin Yi and Lingshan. Elder Yu had already looked through everything in the store. There wasn't anything he wanted. As for the other stuff, it didn't matter to him whether they were valuable or not. Lin Yi's eyes had locked onto a set of needles the moment he entered the room. Although Lin Yi looked calm on the surface, his heart was raging with waves of shock. If he wasn't wrong, that set of needles was the long-lost Fushi 9 needles. Fushi 9 needles, Lin Yi had read about it in a medical book. It was the miracle of acupuncture. It was said that this needle could bring the dead back to life, and all the needles used today were derived from the Fushi 9 needles. Whether or not this thing was that amazing, Lin Yi didn't know, but it was true that it had been lost for a long time. Acupuncture was invented by Fushi, one of the 3 sovereigns in the ancient times. Whether Fushi's 9 needles were used by Fushi was unknown. However, this set of heaven-defying godly tools had been mentioned in many strange and unusual books. Lin Yi recognized the Fushi 9 needles in front of him because he saw the picture of the Fushi 9 needles, but he couldn't tell if it was real or fake. Lin Yi could only ask the old man for confirmation, but it was real if he wanted to keep it in his pocket. Because Lingshan was here, Lin Yi didn't want to put her in a difficult position. With her personality, she'd probably make him hand it over after this, so Lin Yi didn't move. He bent down and whispered something to General Wei Wu before standing up and leaving the room. "Let's go. Since there's nothing else, let's go to the next room." Lin Yi walked out first. Lingshan and Yutian followed closely behind, with Elder Yu, Old He, and Xiaoke all leaving as well. General Wei Wu was the last to leave, but no one noticed that one of its claws was carrying something. The second collection room was obviously a place to store all kinds of finished pills and herbs. As soon as he entered, he saw a neat row of medicine cabinets. Every small drawer was labeled with the name and usage of the medicine. It was obvious that they were commonly used by the owner of the tomb when he was alive. Lin Yi quietly took the 9 Fushi needles from General Wei Wu and kept it in his pocket. General Wei Wu could understand what Lin Yi was saying. As soon as he stepped in, Elder Yu started looking for the qi-gathering pill he wanted, scanning the list of items one by one. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to find any qi-gathering pills, but he opened a few boxes casually. What disappointed him was that the boxes were empty. There weren't any ingredients stored inside. The owner of the tomb probably knew that most of the ingredients couldn't be kept for long, so he didn't put them inside. The only reason he kept this set of medicine cabinets was because it was something he used before he died, and he was sentimental about it. This room was clearly much more full than the previous one. The walls were all filled with medicine cabinets, so many that it was dazzling. Lin Yi confirmed that the medicine cabinets were mostly empty. He was a little disappointed. Lin Yi had placed his hope of finding the fire spirit's fruit in here, but it seemed like that hope was very slim now. While Elder Yu was looking for qi-gathering pills, Lin Yi was looking for the fruit as well, but Lin Yi was a master of medicine, and his eyes were better than Elder Yu's. After Lin Yi finished one cabinet, Elder Yu was only halfway through another. Old He and Xiaoke, naturally, weren't interested in the things in front of them, and Lingshan and Yutian were helping Lin Yi look for the fruit. "It's here." Lingshan suddenly pointed at a drawer. "Where?" Elder Yu heard Lingshan scream and subconsciously jumped in front of Lingshan, scaring her. "Where's the qi-gathering pill? Is there something wrong with you?" "What qi-gathering pill?" "I'm talking about a type of herb." Lingshan wasn't happy with Elder Yu's sudden appearance. Elder Yu looked at the drawers. There really wasn't a qi-gathering pill, and he couldn't help but be disappointed. He humphed and dodged to the side, but with his suspicious personality, he wouldn't just leave like that. He wanted to see what Lingshan had found. Fire spirit's fruit. Lin Yi looked at the label on the drawer, and his breathing quickened. There really was something like this? And it seemed like there was more here? Lin Yi walked over quickly and opened the drawer, but what disappointed Lin Yi was that the drawer was empty, just like the other herbs. "Phew." Lin Yi sighed. "There's nothing." Elder Yu didn't know why Lin Yi was looking for this fruit, but seeing that there was nothing in the drawer, he didn't care anymore and turned to look for the qi-gathering pill. Lin Yi closed the drawer, disappointed, but it was within his expectations. After calming himself down, he started looking for the qi-gathering pill Elder Yu was talking about. Soon, Lin Yi's eyes landed on a drawer with qi-gathering pills written on it, but Elder Yu hadn't noticed it yet. "What you're looking for is here." Lin Yi walked over and opened the drawer. Lin Yi knew that his every move was under Elder Yu's watchful eye, and he couldn't sneak around under his nose. Even if he didn't tell him, Elder Yu would definitely find this place soon, so Lin Yi might as well just tell him. There was no need to start a fight with Elder Yu over something like this. Lin Yi still needed to preserve his strength to look for the medical notes. This time, There was really something in the drawer. They were 2 small medicine bottles, each of which was small and exquisite, sparkling and translucent. Each of them was labeled with the words, "Qi Gathering Pill," written in seal script. At this time, Elder Yu came over as well. He looked at the 2 bottles of Qi Gathering Pills in the drawer, greed in his eyes. Who knew what he was thinking? The Qi Gathering Pill is here, I've looked. There are 2 bottles here, and each bottle has 1 Qi Gathering Pill. According to our agreement, we'll each take one, so I'll take one of the bottles. Lin Yi said as he reached for one of the bottles. Chapter 1388. Slow? What do you mean? Lin Yi raised his head and looked at Elder Yu sharply. Are you going back on your word? Over there are some other elixirs, Qi replenishing pills, detoxification pills, etc. Those should be more useful to you. Why don't you give these 2 Qi gathering pills to me, and I'll give you all the other elixirs? Elder Yu pointed at the cabinet not far away. Are you stupid? Lin Yi looked at Elder Yu like he was an idiot. We agreed that you only want the Qi gathering pills and the medical notes. If there are 2 Qi gathering pills, I'll have one, and if you find the medical notes, I'll make a copy. Other than that, you don't need anything else. I can take the rest of the elixirs if I want. What does it have to do with you? But Elder Yu's face turned ugly after hearing Lin Yi's words. Lin Yi was right, he did say that before, but he thought that there was only 1 Qi gathering pill in the tomb. He didn't think that there would be 2. Now that he saw 2, he was tempted. He wanted to keep one for himself and give the other to House Yu, because he was an Earth class as well. There was no guarantee that he wouldn't reach Earth class late phase peak one day, and if he did, he'd be able to break through to Sky class in one go. His position in the hidden House Yu would skyrocket. However, if there was only 1 Qi gathering pill, even if he found it, they wouldn't give it to him. It would be reserved for the core members of the hidden House Yu, and he wouldn't be able to get it. But Lin Yi didn't want to give it to him, and this made him furious. He was an Earth class. Normal mystic, even mystic late phase peak, would be scared when they saw him. The difference between Earth class and mystic class was like heaven and earth. But Lin Yi wasn't afraid at all. He had that Qi bomb killer move, making Elder Yu very wary. He could only be angry in his heart, not daring to argue with Lin Yi too much on the surface. Take yours yourself. If it weren't for the fact that I don't want to kill you, I wouldn't even give you a bottle. Lin Yi took his bottle and left one for Elder Yu. Elder Yu heard Lin Yi's words and his heart was about to explode, but there was nothing he could do. The more Lin Yi threatened to kill him, the more he didn't dare to anger Lin Yi, especially now that his body was full of injuries. His right hand was injured, his feet were injured, and most importantly, his crotch was injured. With so many injuries, he still had to fight with Lin Yi head-on. He had no confidence in winning at all, which was why he was so patient. Elder Yu took the bottle from the drawer and put it into his pocket, gritting his teeth in anger. Then the rest of the pills are all mine. Don't force me to blow you up. Lin Yi said faintly. Elder Yu was choked by Lin Yi's words, and after a while he said, I'm injured, I won't stoop to your level. Don't think I'm scared of you. Elder Yu thought, when I recover in a few days, do you think I'll let you be so cocky? I'll just take it from you then. Lin Yi quickly walked to the other drawers and opened all of them, but most of the drawers were empty, only a few had something in them. The drawers with something in them were Qi returning pill, injury medicine, painkiller, and life replenishing pill. These 4 were all very common pills. Only the Qi returning pill belonged to the level of a pill refiner, but the other things like painkiller, injury medicine, and life replenishing pill, Lin Yi knew the recipe and could make them in batches, and with some modifications, the cost would be lower. But the pill wasn't very useful to Lin Yi. He'd heard of the effects of the pill before, that it could recover a certain amount of strength in a short amount of time, but it couldn't be used continuously. It was useless to use it too often. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had the jade space, so the Qi returning pill was useless to him. Lin Yi took out all the elixirs from the drawer and gave them all to Xiaoke. For a dumb girl like you who goes on adventures all the time and likes to challenge people, it's a good thing to have more elixirs on you. Ah? He's giving it all to me? Xiaoke froze. These were all good stuff. She couldn't believe it. The male thief was treating her too well, wasn't he? Was he really interested in her? Her skills? A little, at least not as good as the male thief. He was a mystic class master, even stronger than her Shifu. Xiaoka really wanted that. Challenging people all the time? That didn't seem to be the case. Since when did she challenge people? Ever since entering the tomb, she'd been very quiet. Why would she challenge people? Xiaoka was confused. She seemed to have challenged someone once, and it was that time when Lin Yi humiliated her, and that was when she stood up to challenge him. But how did the male thief know? He couldn't be Lin Yi, could he? Xiaoka suddenly had a bold thought, but she shook her head immediately. How was that possible? Lin Yi couldn't be a couple, wasn't that a little too ridiculous? Besides, the male thief treated her so well, and Lin Yi treated her so badly, how could they be the same person? That was impossible. Lin Yi was such an evil person, it was an insult to the male thief. Before entering the tomb, the male thief had been protecting Xiaoka, and in the tomb, he'd been protecting her everywhere. How could he be the same person as Lin Yi? If Lin Yi heard Xiaoka's thoughts, he'd probably be pissed off. They were the same person, and he'd become better by covering his face? What kind of pervert was he? I'll give it all to you, don't come here anymore, it's too dangerous. Lin Yi reminded Xiaoka solemnly that if he didn't come with her this time, what awaited Xiaoka would be the death of a beauty. But Xiaoka nodded, remembering the words of the male thief. Yes, it really was too dangerous. Xiaoka felt scared just thinking about it. If it wasn't for the male thief protecting her, she would have died a long time ago. Thinking about how old He used her as cannon fodder, Xiaoka felt very annoyed and angry. This guy was so evil, even worse than Lin Yi. Chapter 1389. Seeing that Lin Yi gave those pills to Xiaoka, Elder Yu gritted his teeth in anger, but he couldn't say anything. With a humph, he left the room, ready to go to the next one. Xiaoka happily put away the things Lin Yi gave her and happily followed Lin Yi out of the room, heading to another room not far away. Old He opened the door, and Elder Yu walked in first. This was a library with bookshelves all around, filled with all sorts of books. Lin Yi walked in and glanced at it. Other than medical books, there were many books on botany, evidently kept for researching herbs. Seeing that it was a study, Elder Yu's face lit up with excitement. The medical notes he was looking for should be here. Old He already got what he wanted, and these rooms were just accompanying someone else. What he wanted to know the most now was how to get out of this tomb. The path from before was definitely not working. Climbing out from the pit was not realistic at all. Although it wasn't a long distance in a straight line, it was full of twists and turns, and the walls were terrifyingly slippery. It was impossible to get up without specialized tools. He could only focus on the other exits, but would they be easy to find? He could only place his hopes on Xiaoka and Lin. Out of everyone here, only the two of them were strong, and he had some experience as well. Elder Yu was as timid as a mouse and arrogant, so there was no way he could place his hopes on him. Elder Yu's eyes scanned all the bookshelves as soon as he entered, but there were just too many books in the room, so many that it was shocking. Even if there weren't tens of thousands of books, there were at least a few thousand, densely packed on the shelves. Elder Yu felt like he was getting dizzy from the sheer number of books. Looking at the medical books, Elder Yu frowned. How long would it take to find them? Come look with me. If we find them, I'll let you make a copy. Elder Yu thought about it and said to Lin, 2 people looking together was better than 1 person. He could only promise some benefits to Lin Yi, otherwise he wouldn't have the motivation. But Elder Yu didn't understand. What did Lin Yi want the medical notes for? He was just a thief. Why would he want something like that? There were so many medical books in this room, and he didn't want them. Why did he want the medical notes? Wasn't he going against him? Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to look through the bookshelves. Medical notes were different from medical books, after all. It was more of a diary, and it usually wrote down what patients were treated today and what patients were treated tomorrow. It was a personal item, and it shouldn't be placed in the library. I don't think so, don't bother looking. Lin Yi said faintly. These are all medical books, and personal belongings like medical notes should be placed together with Zhang Liju's other personal belongings. If I'm not mistaken, it should be in the last stone room. Oh? Then let's go to the last room first. Elder Yu hesitated, but he felt that Lin Yi's words made sense. He nodded and said, "Yes, Elder Yu." The others didn't have much interest in these ancient books. These medical books were precious, and many of them didn't exist in the world anymore, but Lin Yi didn't care about them. Old Lin's library was even bigger than this place, and there were more books. Old Lin basically had everything here. Lin Yi was the first to leave the library, so he went to the next door first, and this was the last door in the hallway. At least, it was the last door within 100 meters. In front of him, there was nothing on both sides of the wall, but the light from the flashlight was limited, so he couldn't see clearly. However, Lin Yi didn't open the door hastily, because Lin Yi was in front of the last door, and the jade sent a faint warning signal. When Lin Yi wanted to open the door, the warning signal got stronger and stronger. And so, Lin Yi didn't make a move and just stood there, waiting for Elder Yu to come. "Why aren't you going in?" Elder Yu paused. "Waiting for you, in case someone as petty as you thinks that I'm taking everything for myself." Lin Yi said faintly. "Humph, you want to copy the medical notes, so you're trying to please me, right?" Elder Yu humphed coldly and said proudly. With that, he pushed the stone door open and walked in with big steps. But when Elder Yu walked in, what followed was a cry of pain. "My eyes! My eyes! It's poison in the stone room." Old Hay, who was standing at the door and wanted to go in, shivered. This tomb was really dangerous. There was no danger before, and he thought that everything would be fine, but now there was danger again. Even Elder Yu was injured? "Male thief, you little brat, you want to trick me? Let me be the cannon fodder first." Elder Yu roared and rushed out of the stone room. His eyes were wide open, but his left eye was dull and lifeless. Evidently, there was something wrong with it. Only his right eye was normal. Lin Yi, who was standing at the door, had a cold smile on his face. "You're the one who's being tricked." But what made Lin Yi feel regretful was that Elder Yu only lost one eye, not both. This was a bit of a waste. It was painful for Elder Yu, but it wouldn't affect their strength much in a fight. "I tricked you? Are you kidding me? You went in yourself, how am I tricking you? Don't tell me I'm the one who created this tomb?" Lin Yi humphed coldly. "I've reminded everyone before, there should be danger in here. Who can you blame for being careless?" But Elder Yu was a bit pissed. Yeah, who could he blame for being careless? Lin Yi did say that there should be danger in the main tomb, but the treasure rooms didn't seem to be dangerous at all, so Elder Yu lowered his guard. "Elder Yu, your eyes?" "Inside?" Old Hay asked, concerned. "There's poison in here. If I didn't react fast enough, my eyes would have been ruined." Elder Yu said furiously. "Serves you right, every time you enter the stone room, you're always trying to get in first, as if you're afraid people will steal your stuff." Lin Yi said mockingly, "Are you going in or not?" Chapter 1390. At first, Elder Yu didn't dare to go in, but after seeing Lin Yi walk in without any problems, he followed. What pissed him off was that not only did he lose his bloodline, but he also lost an eye. It was a huge loss. The wounds on his arms and legs were easy to recover from, but his testicles were pierced, and his eye was blinded by poison. It wasn't that easy to recover from. There was nothing special about this stone room, and it looked like a bedroom. There was a bed, a table, a small cabinet, and some simple living utensils. It was just like the place the owner lived in when he was alive. If Lin Yi's guess was right, these rooms and this stone room were all remodeled based on Zhang Liju's lifetime. The things and furniture were the same as before. Zhang Liju had no children, no disciple, and he lived his life alone. But since there were countless people who were indebted to him, naturally, there would be people who would pay to build this tomb for him. On the wall of the room, there was a line of words: "Medicine can cure the poison, but no medicine can cure the gentleman on the roof." Lin Yi looked at the words on the wall. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. Perhaps this was Zhang Liju's warning to tomb robbers. Or perhaps, this little trap had always existed in Zhang Liju's house, and if it was an old friend who came to visit, naturally it would be his best friend who knew how to cure the poison, but the gentleman on the roof could only change his profession. Elder Yu looked at the words on the wall. He was shaking with anger, but the owner of the tomb had died a long time ago, and he couldn't do anything about it. How could he do that to a dead man? Lin Yi looked around the room, and his eyes landed on the small box on the bedside. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. this Zhang Liju was really on par with the old man at home. There was also a small wooden box on the old man's bed. Inside it were some miscellaneous items, such as paper, pen, glasses, and some other commonly used items. Of course, the old man also had a medical notebook, which was placed in this box. Therefore, Lin didn't say anything and went straight to the bed. He took the box and opened it. Sure enough, there were 2 books and some commonly used small things in it. Ancient brushes, ink, paper, and inkstones weren't as simple as modern ones. It wasn't easy to put them in the box, so there weren't any. There were 2 books in the box, one thick and the other thin. The thick one was his medical notes. An excited look appeared on Lin Yi's face. He had finally found it. There should be news about the fire spirit's fruit in the medical notes. Their goal this time was Zhang Liju's medical notes, and now that they had found it, how could Lin Yi not be excited? Xiao, there was finally hope. Lin Yi couldn't help but want to jump up and shout, "Long live the old man." Even someone as patient as Lin Yi couldn't help but tremble with excitement. But in order not to reveal too much of his emotions, he held it in for now. The thin one, on the other hand, made Lin Yi pause. Notes of a refiner? What was this? At that moment, Elder Yu saw the 2 books in Lin Yi's hands, and he reached out to grab them. Elder Yu was an earth class, but Lin Yi's reaction speed was faster than his, and Lin Yi had been paying attention to Elder Yu's movements. This was an extremely important book to him. How could he let Elder Yu take it away? What? You want to take it? I'll make a copy and give it to you naturally, Lin Yi said faintly. What's the other one in your hands? Let me see. Elder Yu, on the other hand, didn't care about the medical notes anymore. His attention was on the notes that Lin Yi was injured in. The medical notes were just something that Elder Yu could do without. House Yu only hoped to find something related to alchemy from it, but with the refiner's notes, the medical notes weren't that important anymore. As for the medical stuff, Elder Yu and House Yu didn't really care about it. It's some refiner's notes, it's not something you want. What are you looking at? Lin Yi didn't have the intention to give the notes to Elder Yu at all. In fact, Lin Yi was shocked when he saw the book. Elder Yu had explained so much about the strengths and advantages of a refiner, and Lin Yi was drooling over it. Now that he saw this notes, how could Lin Yi not take it for himself? If Lin Yi didn't take it for himself, he'd be an idiot. Elder Yu wanted to leave, but that was impossible. 1 was robbing, 2 was robbing. At most, he'd just fight them head-on. Hiss. Elder Yu took in a cold breath. He didn't think that it really was the refiner's notes. Elder Yu's plan was simple. After entering the tomb, he would use the chi-gathering pill and the medical notes as a cover to confuse these people, then secretly find the notes and put it in his pocket. Elder Yu thought that it wouldn't be a problem for an earth class like him, but after entering the tomb, he realized that the danger level was beyond his imagination. He felt like he was being led by the nose by Lin Yi. These things were all found by Lin Yi. It was too difficult for him to find them himself. Elder Yu underestimated the traps in the tomb, overestimating the power that an earth class like him could unleash in the tomb. This made him regret it. If he knew this would happen, he would have told Lin Yi everything when he asked. He was still hiding it, but now he found it and didn't want to give it to him. He couldn't do anything about it. Who asked him to not ask for it? Elder Yu resisted the urge to rush over and snatch it. This was the tomb. Fighting Lin Yi wouldn't do him any good. If he wanted to leave the tomb smoothly, he might need Lin Yi's help. If he injured or killed Lin Yi, he wouldn't be able to leave. Secondly, Elder Yu's injuries weren't healed yet. If he attacked now, he might not be able to kill Lin Yi. Instead, he might get killed by Lin Yi. That wouldn't be worth it. And so, Elder Yu held back his anger and looked at Lin Yi. Kid, how about I make a deal with you? What deal? Lin Yi paused. He didn't know what kind of stupid idea Elder Yu was going to come up with. That medical notes, I don't want it anymore, you can have it. But this personal notes you have, how about you give it to me? Elder Yu said. Just take it as an exchange for my medical notes. Chapter 1391. Elder Yu, can you not say such stupid things? What use do I have for medical notes? I'll just copy it, it's the same, there's no difference. As for the notes, you didn't say you wanted it, why should I give it to you? Lin Yi looked at Elder Yu with disdain. Male thief, don't force me. Elder Yu gritted his teeth as he looked at Lin. What did I force you to do? I asked you before, you came here to rob the tomb for these two things, I can give them to you, are you going back on your word? Lin Yi mimicked Elder Yu's tone. Senior, don't force me. Elder Yu's mouth was wide open as he stared at Lin Yi, but he didn't have any temper. Me what? Lin Yi looked at Elder Yu faintly. I'll keep this medical notes with me first, I'll give it to you when we get out, in case you run away after taking it and don't give it to me. Do what you want. Elder Yu took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in his heart. He decided not to bother with Lin Yi for now. After he recovered and left the tomb, he'd kill Lin Yi and take all the good stuff from Lin. Thinking about it, he'd take the risk of getting heavily injured by Lin Yi's explosion and take the chi-gathering pill, medical notes, and personal notes from Lin. Even if he'd be heavily injured, Lin Yi would be heavily injured or even dead. He'd still be able to take all the pills and go back to House U to recover. His contribution and rewards would be limitless. From Elder Yu's point of view, as long as he could get one chi-gathering pill, the medical notes, and the personal notes to the hidden House U, it would be a huge contribution. If he could find even one of them, it would be a worthwhile trip, let alone all three. And if he secretly kept one chi-gathering pill and some other pills, House U wouldn't know, when he broke through to Sky Class, all the humiliation he received today would be nothing. With that thought, Elder Yu made up his mind. Male thief, you only took these things? Old Hay looked at Lin Yi confused. He didn't understand why Lin Yi and Elder Yu were at loggerheads. There were so many good things in this tomb, why would Lin Yi want those medical notes and personal notes? He had never heard of the couple needing these things in the past. However, this wasn't something that Lao Hei could handle. Ever since he knew that Lin Yi was a mystic class master, Lao Hei didn't dare to act rashly. I'm not interested in other things for the time being. Lin Yi said faintly, don't ask what you shouldn't ask. Mind your own business. Old Black was stunned for a moment, then he nodded and laughed bitterly in his heart. What a cheap mouth of mine, what nonsense did I ask? It was obvious that Lin Yi didn't want to say any more. These things didn't have much to do with him anymore. Being able to keep his life was Old Hay's greatest fortune. He thought about Old King Old Hao and James who came with him, they were all dead. He killed two of them, and one of them was eaten by a monster. After this mission, Old Hay probably wouldn't be able to stay in the business anymore. Killing Old Hao was one thing, since he was a traitor, but Old Kang's death was too unjust. It would be fine if no one knew about this, but the couple and the Flying Sparrow girl all knew about it, and he couldn't stop them from talking about it. This time, Old Hay had to think about changing professions. If that's the case, then let's find a way out. Xiaoka didn't want to stay in this tomb any longer. The coffin room, are we still going? I don't want to go, there's nothing else to take. It's dangerous, let's just get out of here. Old Hay shook his head. He didn't want to cause any more trouble, after all. The things I want are all on the male thief, naturally I won't go looking for death. Elder Yu humphed coldly. One of his eyes was gone, and he was depressed. Then let's find an exit, we can't go back to the previous exit. Lin Yi's goal had been achieved, so it didn't matter anymore. In actuality, Lin Yi still wanted to go to the main tomb to take a look. After all, old Lin said that Zhang Liju seemed to have the ability to find treasures and elixirs. This ability might have come from some kind of treasure, but Lin Yi hadn't seen anything like that on the way here. Jiao Lao was very sensitive to treasures, and if there really was something there, Jiao Lao would have warned him, but it didn't seem like that was the case. Where's the exit? Xiaoka smiled bitterly. Right now, we can only follow this path and see what's in front of us. The group nodded, and after leaving the stone room, they continued walking. This time, there weren't any doors on the walls. It seemed like there were only 4 stone rooms here, and Zhang Liju's wealth wasn't that rich after all. But it was no wonder, after all, someone like Zhang Liju didn't care about money or fame, or else he wouldn't be alone his whole life without a wife or concubine. If he wanted to enjoy life, he would have had a bunch of them already, and wouldn't have brought these things into the tomb. After about 300 to 400 meters, they reached the end of the passageway. From the looks of it, the underground palace wasn't complicated at all, and all the complicated paths were concentrated at the entrance. What appeared in front of everyone were 2 stone doors. The two stone doors were very similar, but they were slightly different. On each stone door, there were different patterns carved. In the middle of each stone door, there was something similar to a jigsaw puzzle, like the ones in Huarong Dao's games. Where is this? Why are there two doors? Elder Yu saw the scene and couldn't help but ask. Elder Yu, I'm afraid this is the legendary life door and death door. Old Hei's face was solemn, but there was a hint of joy in his voice. According to past experience, the life door will allow us to leave the tomb smoothly, and the death door will lead us to the coffin of the deceased, and in the legends, it will be buried with the deceased forever. Then what are we waiting for? I'll go through the life door, I'll go through the death door. Elder Yu said impatiently. Hurry up and open the life door, we're leaving. Elder Yu, this life door and death door. Actually, I don't know which one is the life door and which one is the death door. Old Hei smiled bitterly. You're the one who doesn't know. Naturally, no one would go through the death door in this tomb, but in some simple tombs, there might be treasures in the death door. Chapter 1392. Chapter 1390 Robbery, Part 1. You don't know? What do you mean? Can't we just open them up and see? Elder Yu frowned. Elder Yu, there's no difference between the life door and death door, but the places they lead to are different. One leads to the outside of the tomb, the other to the coffin, one leads to life, one leads to death. If you go the wrong way, you won't be able to come back. Old Hei smiled bitterly. Is that so? Elder Yu paused. Then what are you waiting for? Go solve it. Well, solving it requires research. Old Hei turned to Xiaoke and Lin Yi awkwardly. Male thief, flying sparrow, what do you two think? That was just my side of the story. It's hard to say whether or not this is the life door and death door. This should be the life door and death door. Xiaoke looked at the two doors in front of her and sighed. We need to determine which one is the life door and which one is the death door. How do we determine? These two doors look the same? Old Hei nodded. I'm guessing that the key lies in the two puzzles on the doors. These two puzzles are two paintings, and the different paintings represent life or death. Xiaoke guessed. So you mean that after we put the puzzles together, we'll know which is the life door and which is the death door? Old Hei asked. In theory, yes, but I think that the mechanism to open the doors is the two puzzles as well. I can't guarantee that there won't be any danger when we put the puzzles on top of it. There's no order to the puzzles, Xiaoke said. Xiaoke said, if it's done in a certain order, then if we break the order, it'll bring serious consequences. We might cause unexpected trouble, or we might destroy the mechanism forever. That's serious. Old Hei didn't quite agree with Xiaoke's words, but in this tomb, anything could happen. It didn't make sense and it scared him. Perhaps I'm just guessing, Xiaoke said. Then what should we do now? Old Hei frowned as he stared at the two doors. First, think of a way to write down these two pictures and then put them together on a piece of paper. We'll figure out which one is the life door and which one is the death door, and then we'll think of something else. Xiaoke said after a sigh. All right, let's do that. Old Hei felt that Xiaoke's method was more dependable. Draw the two pictures on the paper first and figure out what they meant. That way, it would be easier to determine if the door was the life or death door. Elder Yu didn't understand this, so he didn't give any suggestions. After hearing Xiaoke's words, he knew how dangerous this trap was, so he kept his mouth shut. He was an earth class, almost invincible in the outside world, but in this tomb, he was so scared that he didn't even dare to breathe, and he kept getting injured. It was frustrating, but at the same time, he didn't dare rush Lin. Lin didn't care about Xiaoke and Old Hei, sitting cross-legged. This time, he didn't practice, but took out Zhang Liju's medical notes and started flipping through them. Lin Yi wasn't sure if he could beat Elder Yu, or if Elder Yu would have the patience to let him make a copy of the medical notes. There were a few hundred pages, and it wasn't something that could be done in a short amount of time. Even making a copy would take some time, and with Elder Yu's impatient personality, Lin Yi had to give it some li. He had to be prepared. He had made up his mind to fight for his life, but if he could find the fruit in the book, what was the point of fighting for it? Seeing that Lin Yi was flipping through Zhang Liju's medical notes, Elder Yu paused. He didn't think that Lin Yi had the ability to understand this medical notes, but he couldn't say anything to Lin either. He just humphed and started healing himself. In Lin Yi's hands was Zhang Liju's medical notes, similar to old Lin's. It mainly recorded the process and methods he used to save people, including prescriptions, medicine making, medicine collection, and so on. There were also some records about the Fushi 9 needles. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to look at these things. He was curious about the Fushi 9 needles, but he had to look for the fruit first. The medical notes didn't have a table of contents, only dates and numbers, so Lin Yi couldn't search for it. He could only flip through the pages one by one. Lin Yi's eyesight was amazing, and with Xiaoke and Old Hei's weak light, he could read the words on the medical notes. Ling Shan and Yutian couldn't help, so they just sat beside Lin Yi and practiced. General Wei Wu, on the other hand, laid quietly on the side, as if everything here had nothing to do with it. Time passed, second by second, and the tomb was silent. Only Xiaoke and Old Hei could be heard occasionally, and they were either surprised or cheering. They were experienced tomb robbers, but they weren't good at puzzles like this. The two of them had already used the paper they brought with them to draw the puzzle pieces on the stone door, and made them into pieces of the same size, planning to restore them. Songshan, on the other hand, wasn't as peaceful. A Land Rover without a license plate quietly stopped in front of a bank, and if someone looked closely, they would see that the front and back of the Rover had traces of paint patching. If Xiao Xiao were still alive, she would see that the repair marks on the Rover were exactly the same as her own. Not long after, the Land Rover's door quietly opened, and a man in black with a hood walked out. This person's figure was very well proportioned, and he looked very familiar. After he got out of the car, he went straight into the bank without saying a word. Suddenly, a masked man in black broke into the bank, causing the customers in the bank to be startled and cry out in alarm. However, the masked man in black didn't seem to hear them at all. He ignored the screams of these customers and walked directly to the front of the bank's business counter. He swung his fist and smashed the glass of the counter window. With a loud bang, the thick glass of the bank window was easily broken by this person. With just one jump, the black-clothed masked man jumped into the bank counter. An ear-piercing alarm sounded, but the robber didn't seem to hear it at all. Dash! The bank employees who were doing business behind the counter all screamed. Chapter 1393. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. He was alone like a lone hero. He didn't even say a word and just barged in. The masked man in black didn't say a word. He took out a super large woven silk bag from his waist and started to put money into it from under the counter. He was self-reliant, unlike the other robbers who took hostages and asked the teller for help. He didn't say any harsh words either. It was as if he didn't care about the people around him at all, treating them like air. While everyone was stunned, almost in an instant, all the money under the counter went into the masked man's woven silk bag. The next moment, the masked man in black turned around and walked to the safe at the back. The money under the counter was limited, but the safe stored all the cash flow of the bank for a day. But what was surprising was that the masked man in black didn't ask for the safe's password and key. Instead, he just walked straight to the safe. The black-clothed masked man forcefully pulled the safe's door open. The banknotes inside once again entered the black-clothed masked man's knitted silk bag. If one bag wasn't enough, he took out another one. The way he put the money in was so fast that it was as if he had done it thousands of times. After doing all this, the masked man jumped out of the bank's counter. During this time, he didn't even say a word. Everyone present looked at this uninvited guest in fear. The whole scene happened in just a few minutes. A few of the bank's security guards reacted at this time. A few of them held their batons and looked at the silent lone hero with trepidation. "Don't move. Put down the money in your hands. We've already called the police. The police will be here soon." The security captain also felt a little guilty in his heart. This robber was too strange. He had never heard of such a robbery before. The masked man turned a deaf ear to the security captain's words and walked over. When the security captain saw that the robber wasn't listening, he clenched his teeth and waved his baton. "Everyone, stop him together. Stall for time. The police will be here soon." Bang! Before the security captain could finish his words, the black-clothed masked man punched the security captain in the chest, causing him to fly out and hit the wall of the bank, making a loud sound. Looking at the security captain's chest, the black-clothed masked man had smashed his sternum. When he fell from the wall, he was gasping for air. Obviously, he was seriously injured. With the example of the security captain, the other security guards naturally did not dare to act rashly. They were all shocked in their hearts. What kind of person was this? Not only did he smash the glass of the counter and the safe with his bare hands, but he could also send a person flying with a casual punch and shatter his sternum. How could an ordinary person do that? The masked man in black didn't care what these people thought. The next moment, he turned around and walked out of the jewelry store. Carrying the woven silk bag, he got on the unlicensed Land Rover parked at the entrance of the jewelry store. After the masked man in black got on the car, the Land Rover started the engine and drove away. All that was left were the alarms blaring in the bank, the terrified bank employees, and the customers. The Land Rover didn't escape directly. Instead, after a few rounds in the city, it stopped in front of a jewelry store. And the masked man in black did the same thing. He directly rushed into the jewelry store and began to plunder the gold, silver, jewelry, and cash. The masked man's methods were still very violent. He directly smashed the counter, the safe, and the cash register. He was completely self-reliant. He didn't need anyone's help, and he didn't say a word. And the security guards who rushed up to stop him were also shocked after one of them was sent flying by the masked man in black. Under the extreme helplessness and sadness of the jewelry store owner and the security guards, the masked man in black robbed everything in the jewelry store and left. The Land Rover turned a few more times and arrived at a secluded place. Then, another man got out of the car. This man took out a car plate and got on the Land Rover. The car plate number was TT000. The Land Rover didn't go around the city anymore after changing the license plate. Instead, it went straight to the outskirts, and after a few turns, it stopped in front of a small farm. On the surface, it looked like a farm, but in reality, Jiang Wen had bought this place and turned it into another base for him. For someone as rich as Jiang Wen, buying this place wasn't hard at all. Plus, Jiang Wen was doing this for the firewolves, so naturally, the money he spent on this place would be deducted from his earnings. Master Wen, everything went smoothly. 01's robbing speed was really fast. I was only thinking of robbing a silver shop, but his speed was completely out of my expectations. He finished it in less than 5 minutes, so I decided to rob a jewelry store on my own. Master Wen, you won't blame me for being a busybody, will you? The one speaking was the man who had gotten out of the car and changed the license plate. He was called Big Scorpion, a name Jiang Wen had given him. Little Scorpion was taken in as the scapegoat, and the firewolves sent another scapegoat. Jiang Wen didn't remember his original name, but he named him Big Scorpion. It wasn't hard for the firewolves to arrange for someone like this. Although it would require quite a bit of money to settle down, it was nothing compared to the benefits that Jiang Wen could bring to the firewolves. How can I blame you for making a profit? Jiang Wen laughed. It seems like the professor's experiment was a success. You got quite a bit on your first try. How much did you get this time? This time, we went to a bigger silver shop in the business district. There's a lot of cash flow there, and some foreign currency. The jewelry store is a big one as well, so it should be quite a bit. Big Scorpion didn't know how much money they got, but he had already sent someone to count it. Master Wen, I've already sent someone to count it. I think we'll get the exact numbers soon. Very good. Jiang Wen nodded. Bring 01 to the professor and let him replenish his energy and hypnotize himself. We'll do it again when this blows over. Yes. Big Scorpion nodded and left. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, started laughing happily. I'm really a genius. Not only did I earn money from this, but I can also frame Lin Yi with one stone. Ha Lin Yi, you won't be able to defend yourself this time.